and I know the shit's gonna get flushed. And it really gave me some wisdom at the time.
Yeah, don't go in the float tank, Luke. Don't go.
I knew that it's all about perspective. Hey everyone, I'm Luke, and welcome to the Thunk Tank Podcast. Many years ago, in what you could say was the embryonic stage of the Thunk Tank Podcast, Johnny Genie and I lived in the same house. The house was known as the Burrow, and it was a portal into an insane and utterly unsustainable party dimension. So this episode is all about our wonderful memories from that time. One disclaimer, most characters in this episode, even those based on real people, are entirely fictitious. Any resemblance to actual events or locales or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. Maybe I'm winking, maybe I'm not, hard to tell over audio. Anyways, thanks for listening, and please consider supporting us on Patreon. Links for that are in the episode notes. You'll support us, and you'll also earn our love and respect, or whatever. Buckle up for a weird episode, and see you in the tank. Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Come in the tank. We're thinking, and we're drinking,
And we're thunked.
and we're thunked.
Oh my god, I'm probably more beer than man if we go far enough back at this point.
All right, we're live on what might be a regular cast, what might be a drunk tank. If you're a regular podcast listener,
You barely
good
said
for you.
listener.
All right, help me out. Somebody else talk.
Welcome to the everything you've always wanted to know about the Burrow cast. John,
Burrow.
take it away.
Who wants to try to describe what the Burrow is to the non-knowing listener?
Non-Burrow.
I guess from my experience, it was like Luke needed a place to live. Like his situation was, he's like, I got to move out of this place. I found a place. I need some roommates though. Like it's a whole house. It's not an apartment.
I was
but
the
need a couple
primary one.
roommates.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, I got to move on this thing. I got to find some roommates. So there was a roommate secured, and then there was like, well, there's this other smaller room. A third roommate would be even cheaper for all of us. And you guys talked me into it.
This was all like college era as well.
And so it was a shack, like a glorified bungalow.
It was a
beach
glorified
bungalow
shack.
No,
Yeah.
it was a
It was a
that,
beach house,
it was a
basically.
bungalow.
It was a beach house that had plumbing added to it and a kitchen, electric at some point.
Most of the floor.
Yeah, the floor had like divots in the carpet at some points and squishiness, and it was kind of just one big room and then a bedroom and then a closet that I lived in.
So we're also going to protect some people's identities. So anybody that isn't us on this cast right now, we're going to refer to as Luke Skywalker.
It will make sense. Don't worry.
Or another copyrighted Disney property. Yeah, that's great. Good choice, guys. Way to avoid any issues.
I talked
But-
to our
but-
lawyers. It's fine. Right?
The Burrow was so awesome
Sure.
because that's where I met the first time that I met Luke Skywalker, and we're still very close with Luke Skywalker, and
and
Not
we're
to mention
also
Luke
not close at
Skywalker.
all with the other Luke
Another Luke
Skywalker.
Well, no, it's just Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, there
so,
are a
yeah,
lot of
it
Luke
was,
Skywalkers we still keep in touch with. A lot of other Luke Skywalkers we haven't talked to
Not
in
so
years.
much.
It was just a crazy party house.
Yeah.
Like the crazy college party house, because we lived in an area that didn't have many of those. And
Yeah,
ours was
that's true.
a pretty cool one.
How old
so
were we,
It was
would you
definitely
say?
the like 22, 23 maybe.
I think 23, yeah.
It was-
I
it was
remember my
still-
23rd birthday happening there. Yeah.
It's the edge of it being acceptable behavior,
Yeah.
of living like that.
I
There were
mean,
definitely nights,
that's-
just so people understand the lifestyles we were living. There's definitely a night where Kara and I were like, well, we got like $7. We could buy food or we could get this 12-pack of Rolling Rock. So we got the Rolling
Oh my
Rock.
God, so
And
many
then
Rolling
the trick was
Rocks.
after like 2 beers, be like, who can we invite over and be like, bring us some pizza, we'll give you a few beers.
Right,
And
right,
Just
right.
trying to figure out how to survive meal to meal like that, but with terrible decision making. It was one of those types of places. It was a wonderful place.
and most of the people that came over weren't complete assholes. But every once in a while, there would be like a Luke Skywalker and little. Remember, like Big Luke and Little Luke
Oh,
that would
yeah.
come over.
Yeah.
There's Big Luke and Little Luke.
Yeah, Big Luke and
Yeah.
Little
I
Luke.
remember Luke Skywalker made out with Little Luke once
Yeah.
while
That
Luke
sounds- that
Skywalker's
sounds about
girlfriend was inside.
Yeah. That's such a Luke Skywalker move.
Oh my God, I love this code system.
Yeah,
It's going to
it
be great.
works. It works every time.
Oh my God.
But
The way to survive the Burrow is don't lick Luke Skywalker's feet.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker
that's
has
Don't-
kind of a cheese foot thing, right?
Definitely.
No, I mean, lick some of Luke Skywalker's feet, but not a specific Luke Skywalker's feet. Don't lick any feet.
Yeah, don't lick.
Yeah.
Where's the
Burrow foot.
apostrophe on Skywalkers?
That's a really good question.
Is it
Luke.
possessive
Oh, wait,
or
John.
plural? Yeah. Right?
By the way, can we explain the name, the Burrow?
What is the
I thought,
origin?
Yeah, I never liked
wasn't it
that
after
name.
the Harry Potter,
Yeah,
the redheads?
I'm pretty sure, like, when I was naming the Wi-Fi, I was just like, "What are we gonna call the house?" And I was just like, "I'm calling it the Burrow." Boom, and it just stuck. Yeah, it has a good catch to it.
But that's what it became.
We
like,
would answer
pretty
the phone
quickly.
like Burrow here, like
Oh yeah, there was a landline.
Yeah, we had a
wasn't
landline.
there?
So that was through my I don't like cell phones phase,
Oh my god, yeah.
where there was like 3 years when I was younger,
Yeah.
at least 3 years.
At least three,
where
if not
I
four.
refused to have a cell phone,
That's
flip
right.
phone, anything.
As you've said
I
in the
was-
previous
All about
episode,
it.
Johnny was off the books.
Johnny
Yeah.
was a cash-based guy. I think you said.
I was I was an off the
Exactly.
grid guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have a credit card back then.
I didn't have any credit cards till my late 20s.
You didn't want to leave a
always
paper
worked,
trail.
Yeah, I never liked paper
Other than with
trails.
paper
I always
money.
worked cash jobs where I got paid in cash or drugs or something. Just kidding. I always got paid in cash. Ish. Mostly. And so there's just no record of me anywhere. And I was like, I'm not doing all this. And you needed a credit card or something for a cell phone, or it was just like, it took at least one step. And that was the time in my life where I was like, I'm not doing that much work to get a phone I don't want.
And so,
So we
I
had a
ended up being
landline
his secretary
For a while. Yeah.
from Scotland.
Yeah.
People used to message me in Scotland and be like, "Yo, where's Johnny?"
I mean, like, he's home. Just go over there. And they knock on the door. I'd be like, hey, what's up? But I remember it was a landline. It was one of those old, like, wall mount receivers
Yep,
from the
yep.
90s. When I say old, I mean, like, 90s old. But it was like that weird, like not oval shape, but, like, rounded rectangle phone. And it had, like, a 20-foot cord. So it could reach the whole house. I loved that phone. It was great having
you
a
could get to
landline.
the kitchen with that shit, even though it
Because there was no
in the
service
complete
there,
other
so you
room.
guys ended up. Even the roommates ended up using the landline because there was no service in that area.
Yeah,
now.
you got
Right.
the landline originally for two reasons. One, because no service, but also because the first year with like the provider,
Oh,
you
it was
can get
cheaper.
phone, internet, and cable. So we also
Yeah,
had
that was
cable,
cheaper than
by
just
the way,
getting the internet. Yeah,
Yeah.
just to get
which
all
was
three.
pretty trippy. I hadn't had cable in a long time, and
Yeah,
I could just turn on the TV and be like, "What's on channel 40 or some shit?" Like,
Yeah.
it's so foreign to me that you could just like
Well, that's
anytime
why
I'm
they
in a
have that-
hotel
that's
room,
why
I'm
they
like,
have that.
"What?"
That's why they have that deal because nobody would get cable unless they.
It's
threw
not
it in.
logical to get cable unless they get you addicted to it.
Right.
well, even
Yeah.
now, I wouldn't pay $60 a month for cable, but $20 between
Well-
each. Okay, maybe that's worth it to like watch something together with your friends or as a house.
Yeah, but now most
But-
of the things that people watch cable for are
yeah. But I'm just
Our
saying
sports.
now just us. Like I'm not spending $60, $70 for a cable package,
Fuck.
and then you got to spend another $40 to get the good movie channels. It's like over $100 a month. No,
So
not
So-
doing it.
Luke. You should describe the location of the Burrow.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a big
And
part of it.
honestly, I went not on like why do I have to say honestly? It just came out of my mouth. I just went back there to eat a breakfast sandwich recently.
Sandwich.
Let's say today, yeah, like
dirty
a week
New
ago,
Yorker.
like maybe day 2 of quarantine here in New York, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm pretty close to this spot. I'm hungry."
Oh, so you saw the Burrow? Like you saw?
I walked past it. Yeah.
It still stands.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
It
Does it
looks
look-
exactly the same. There was Johnny. Remember the sketchy, like what would you call that at the end of the driveway? It was like a garage of some kind, but it was detached from the house. It was filled
Oh,
with
yeah.
things and
Yeah,
maybe
it was a
bodies. Like,
detached garage.
Who the hell knows what was in there?
We were
The
told
cats.
eventually we'd be able to get a car in there, and that never even got close to happening.
Honestly, I was so young and inexperienced with life at that point that I
Yeah.
honestly thought she would come a few
And
weeks
do
after we
stuff- do the
moved in,
things she
and
just
like,
said she would,
and
yeah.
like clearly that like it wasn't on the lease. Why the fuck would
she never
actually
came
do it?
back, not once.
Didn't you guys
She never
not
came
have
by
a
once.
lease?
No,
No, we
we
did.
signed a lease the first year,
Yeah,
and then
But,
the second year, she tried to get me to sign a lease, but that was when the whole thing with like the town
Yeah.
had come and said this is not a legal rental, and I said, can you sort
Right.
that out before I sign something? And then she got all flustered and was just like, well, just keep living here until I sort that out. And then I never heard from her. And I was like, this is what I want anyways. Like month to month is much better than signing
You could just
something.
walk away.
Yeah, you can walk
Yeah,
away.
we were in the driveway once smoking a cigarette because I was a cigarette smoker at the time.
You were,
so that
yeah.
house was also an ashtray.
Yeah.
Because you were the only roommate who didn't smoke at the time, Luke.
I
So that
remember
must have
I
been
was
tough
like
for
at
you.
drunk at night. I would have to like guide the smokers like up to the attic because you guys
tried
used to
so
go to the
hard.
porch, but it was impossible
There
to
was
keep
an
the porch
attic?
quiet enough.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
the-
then eventually people just started smoking cigarettes inside. I think.
No, I remember like we said like no smoking inside because even you were like I don't want that.
Wait, where
But
was
I
the
came
door
back
to the
from like
attic?
being away for the weekend, and I was like, "Hey, Luke Skywalker, did you smoke a bunch of cigarettes in our bedroom?" By the way, I
It
shared.
smells like an ashtray.
It was me,
Yeah.
Johnny, and Luke Skywalker, and I shared a room with Luke Skywalker.
You did. I had the closet. Your room was like 3 times the size of mine, but I feel like I picked the right choice there.
Yeah, so I
'Cause
shared
I
a
didn't-
room, and
I didn't have Luke's
and it
cheesy
was a
Jedi feet.
weird room. I woke up many times to see Luke Skywalker ass fucking Luke Skywalker.
And air high-fiving you.
Yeah, okay, so one time I wake up and like I just kind of like rub my eyes and I look over and Luke Skywalker is fucking Luke Skywalker and Luke Skywalker looks over at me and goes like he just looks at me like isn't this silly? He looks at me with let
that
me
when
give
you-
you the look. Ready?
And then just continues
Just kind of
about
like
his
that
business.
gesture that a guy gives to a guy when they want to say like I hooked up with that girl kind of
And
look.
this isn't a big room. You're like less than 10 feet apart,
A
right?
little bit more than that.
It's probably like the size of this room, right? Maybe
It was a
little bigger.
long room.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
probably 8 feet
Is that,
something like
is that when you put up the curtain on your bed?
I eventually put up a curtain so that at least I could
wait.
pretend it wasn't happening.
Didn't you have a bunk bed or
You just
something?
hum over it.
Yeah, I put a bunk bed in there.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think for just for storage.
You just had one. and
Folks,
it's
if you haven't
cheapening
figured
anything.
it out by this
That house
point,
was a very
it
ad
was a-
hoc
it was a
house.
disaster, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I slept on an air mattress for like like 6 months, and then a futon for another 6 months. I never had a bed in that
Ad
house.
hoc is the perfect description for that house. Everything was
You
just
you slept in a
ad-hoc-y.
bunk bed because that was the one you grew up with in your parents' house, and they just gave it to you when they moved out, right? You're like, well, I'm not
No,
gonna
what
buy a
happened
bed.
was
I'll just sleep in the
I was
bottom
just
bunk.
going to bring the bottom part with me, and my dad was like, "Well, no use in throwing away the top part. Just attach it." I'm like, "I don't want to do that." He's like, "But you can put shit on top." I'm like, "That's not a bad idea."
Done.
It's a shelf.
He's
Oh,
like, "I'll
this
come
is a
over and
story.
put all the bolts in and shit." I'm like, "Deal." And so I just put storage up there, and like a few times we had like a guest stay over. Remember Tanya? Remember Luke Skywalker used to stay over?
Aw. Scrap it. Start
Mark
the,
mark
episode
the
over again.
timestamp down and just scrub that.
No, I mean like that could be anybody.
Yeah. In fact, that could even be Luke Skywalker. Yeah.
So Tina Skywalker.
Yeah, she'll just be.
So Johnny, here's my
He's got-
quiz.
So I was
to you.
smoking it. Hold on, I was starting a story real
Oh,
quick
okay,
about
go.
how shady that house
Yeah,
was.
that's right.
Is I was smoking a cigarette outside with Luke Skywalker. Actually,
Oh, funny you mentioned him.
some dweeb from the town showed up with a clipboard and was like, taking notes or something. And
In
we're
an
like, "Can we
unmarked
help
car,
you?"
right?
Yeah, we're like, "Can we help you?"
Yeah.
And they said something like, "What was your names?" And I told them my name, and I guess my last name was similar to the landlord's.
It was like
right.
it was like the same kind of like blah 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 blah, like the same kind of.
Thanks.
Scott-
You don't have to be racist. You can just let me tell my story.
It was Guy Walker. Yeah.
I meant it had
Guy
it had the
Walker?
same like rhyme scheme
Yeah,
as your
was
name.
it a Guy Walker? Yeah, it was a Kenobi or Kenobe.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. But
Yeah, it
so
was wasabi.
they were like, "Oh yeah,
Maybe
you're
beef burger?
listed as the like person living here as the family member." And that's when we first found out. I was like, "Oh no, I'm not related to them. I'm renting this. This is a rental unit." They're like, "Oh well, it says that you're." It says like something. I talked to her and she said you're her nephew. And like your family and something. So he's like, if I write this ticket, it's for you, not the property. And I was like, you absolutely cannot do that. If you write a ticket in my name for the lawn not getting mowed, which was her job, her son was
Yep.
supposed to come do it. I
Yep.
think we saw the guy twice in the year we lived there. But he was supposed to come mow the lawn. He's like, yeah, the house is painting. You can't park there. And I was like, well, the landlord said all that was fine. So you have to take it up
House
with
is
them. But I had to be
painting.
like, I am not related to that person.
So,
And,
yeah.
we'll go on record as that. And
Johnny,
he's like,
can
okay,
I-
I need to look into this then. So I kind of threw her under the bus there.
Can I ask how many cars were parked when this guy came? Because we
Like
used
4 or 5.
we used to park a little bit in the driveway, and then we would park like 3 or 4 cars on the lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out in the town we live in, that
Not
is
cool.
not legal. You can get fined for that. Not only is it just clearly trashy, but it's just literally they have the right to fine you like $200 for that. Just like they have the right to fine you for not cutting your grass. Or
I
something.
feel like a lot of people wanted to fine you guys
It's
in general.
absolutely amazing that
That whole
no one
neighborhood.
got arrested or got any fines for that place.
Remember
It's
that,
incredible.
remember that guy
just-
who
all
would
we
yell at
really
you on
did
the
was-
porch?
Yeah,
We
that's
just
why
get
I
together
shouting matches with
and
him.
because
it
everyone
was a party house, but we just drank beer and got loud and listened to music. That's really what
But
we did. We weren't
Johnny,
like
you
doing
just
crazy
described the
drugs.
party
and
house.
Luke
stuff.
Skywalker and little Luke Skywalker were though.
Well, there was some dark side stuff going on.
We didn't know about it
There
though.
was some dabbling in the dark side of the force, but that wasn't us. That wasn't sanctioned. It just
No.
that stuff kind of happens whenever you get a group of people big enough together, right?
So
Yeah, I wasn't on the lease, but I caught big Luke and little Luke doing it in the bathroom, and I was like, "You gotta go." And then they just did it in the driveway. So
yeah. Well, you weren't too clear, apparently.
apparently,
But like, yeah, we went. We're doing it out here now.
one of the
We moved.
One of the fun things about the house is like any weeknight or any night for that
Yeah.
matter, anything could happen,
Yeah.
and that made it kind
That
of
was the
like
fun part.
a fun space.
It was just a wild card house.
It was a wild card house, and one of the only line I drew was like, "Don't party in my bedroom," and I can just like go retire from party whenever I want,
Yeah.
and that seemed to work
Oh.
out fine most of the
that's
time.
not how I remember it.
No, your room was so disgusting. I would have to go several times throughout the day and make sure the door to it was closed because Luke Skywalker's cheese foot was so bad. If
Talk
you
about
guys all-
cheese foot a little bit.
If you guys all left for the day, I mean, it's self-explanatory what it is. But when you guys all
Apparently
left
not
for the
because I
day,
didn't know about it.
if I would, because I worked later, I would like you guys were in school and I was working. So like I would leave at like 10 and you were all gone already. And if your door to your bedroom was open, the whole house already smelled like cheese. So I'd have to close that door before I left for the day for it to be decent when I got home. And part of that was because the house was so poorly insulated, it couldn't hold any smell because it was just so drafty and the walls were not insulated at all. It was brutally hot in the
air
summer and
conditioning.
freezing in the winter. No AC. Great spot.
One of the problems
But,
with that, Luke Skywalker walked around barefoot everywhere, no matter what,
Everywhere.
For like a
Including
whole
public places,
summer.
Yeah.
including into bathrooms. Like if you were at
Including
the
music
beach
festivals.
or music festivals, like
Like the
Yeah,
whole
car
time.
road trips.
Oh yeah, he did go into that.
Like who goes on a
porta
road
potty
trip
without
barefoot?
shoes.
Yeah.
We did see a guy today with a
Ugh.
broken nose and no shoes
Oh,
waiting
he had
at
a
the bus
broken
stop.
nose. I did not
Yeah,
see that.
he had a bunch of blood. It was all busted on one side.
you know what Luke Skywalker would say when you were like, "Dude, you shouldn't go into a porta potty barefoot." He'd be like, "Come on, man,
Right?
So Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker.
come on, man! Like, can't you just be cool?" It's like, I mean, I am cool. I'm just telling you not to do that.
Cheese feet aren't cool though. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like his feet had some serious like hobbit strength to them, but they had a very strong smell too. And I don't think he ever washed his sheets.
Nor did he wash the puke in the bathroom when he puked all over my fucking beautiful toilet paper. So toilet paper was as rare of a commodity then as it is during
Us,
COVID.
to our circle, yeah. 'cause
Yeah.
we're all
COVID
broke.
19.
That's why I was
Nobody
saying in
wanted
the
to
last
spend money.
episode, you guys did some prepping living at the
Yeah.
Burrow. Yeah.
And I got a pretty dope job, but I worked a lot. And then whenever I was able to come out, I would bring like the big, like triple ply Charmin.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Luke
because we had
Skywalker
bullshit
fucking puked
paper
all
otherwise,
over
yeah.
like a
Missed
24
the
pack
toilet
of
and
it.
puked next to the mountain of toilet paper.
And
Right.
left
Oh,
it
you
for
left it,
just
3
left it.
to the right of the
months.
toilet, right?
Yeah.
And then he puked all over it and ruined all the toilet paper.
And left it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we
Classic Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Classic Luke Skywalker.
You're Luke Skywalker, Johnny and I, we all said like we're not cleaning that up. So that was that.
What, Johnny, what's your, or Kara, like whoever has it pop into their mind first, what's your most, if you were to try to convince somebody like that the Burrow was kind of a crazy place, what's your most like the Burrow is crazy story?
Oh, when Luke Skywalker puked into Luke Skywalker's mouth while we were on mushrooms because he was laughing so hard. Luke Skywalker puked into Luke Skywalker's mouth because they were on shrooms and they were both laughing so hard
laughing
that even
with their mouths
after
open and just
the
talking.
puke
and,
happened,
like,
they kept laughing.
while talking and making eye contact, one just puked into the other's mouth, and it was so absurd that they just kept laughing while being grossed out.
Was I there
by
or
it.
was that the time I was
No.
not there?
You were not there.
I don't know. I barely remember being there, but that's a good one.
I barely
that was
remember
the best
living
night
there
of my
for
life,
years.
so I remember
I
a lot
forgot
of
that
it.
till just now. And then there was a jug of water, and they took a swig, and then there were some floaters from the vomit. I was like, now I can't drink the water the rest of the night that I'm tripping. It was not great.
I guess, or just foosball in general, which somebody
I was
going to
say
Foosbeer.
we invented a game called Foos Beer, which we should go over really
By
quickly.
we, you mean Joe and I, right?
By we,
I'm pretty sure that fuck.
Joe and I started it, but
Skywalker and I.
we all
You did
codified
not.
it.
I brought the
Yeah.
damn
Yeah.
table over.
I mean,
all
who
I
wrote the Constitution? Was it?
Oh,
I
that
think
was
it was
you.
Luke Skywalker
you know
and
what I mean?
wrote
It was
down.
a group effort.
That-
It's like Monty Python. We all take credit. all
Yeah,
right?
okay, yeah.
I
Deal.
Because
I remember the foosball table. You guys had just moved in, and I just happened to go to a yard sale, which I never do. And there was this awesome life-size foosball table there. And I asked the guy how much, and he said, I don't know, $20. And I was like, I immediately called Luke, and I was like, Luke, I need your truck.
I remember that. If I remember correctly, it was a beautiful afternoon when we picked it up.
Yep. It's
And I
classic.
drove over.
It was-
You're like,
it was
what are
an
you
older
doing
one.
today? I'm like, nothing.
Yeah, I was like, I got a housewarming gift for you guys.
Yeah, I'm like,
Someone
well, I'm
needs
free.
to touch on the pup too at some point.
The what?
The pup.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
old car was called the Pup.
Yeah. So we loaded
the
the foosball table
1987
on top.
Isuzu pickup truck.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my student about that today, actually.
Really?
I was talking
It's
about
random.
trumpet sound. I was like, when you move the air, you want it to turn into sound right away. I was like, unlike my old pickup truck where you would push the gas pedal down and have to wait 3 seconds for the engine to respond.
And what your students say?
That was a great.
He
car.
looked at me like, this is a Skype lesson. I don't really know what's going on. I'm in 7th grade. I was like, Joe Biden's crazy though, right? He's like, what? I'm like, all right, play your scale.
Fair enough.
All right then.
Yeah, so the foosball table became, I would say that became sort of like the centerpiece, right?
It was.
It became the main event when like we were hanging out. We would always be like, foos beer.
Yeah.
You would
Well,
get
'cause
a
we
crowd
weren't
to
really-
make it a thing.
We weren't really a sit around the TV and watch a game crowd.
No,
So like
yeah.
there would always be music playing, and then you just kind of sit around and talk over the music. So fucking throw some foosball in there. But
Foosbeer.
I remember typing up the rules to foosbeer, and they got ruined. So I was like, I know what I'll do. They got wet and covered in beer and destroyed, and then we were arguing about the rules. I was like, I'll type them up and I'll laminate them, because once something's laminated,
Oh,
it's
it's so
so much
official.
more
Like
Under glass,
official.
so hard to destroy.
And it's under glass. That's right, Tom. So I laminated two sets of the rules, and I like tacked them up on the wall. And that's when it took off, because strangers would come over and be like, "What's going on?" And you could just point and be like,
Strangers.
"What?"
Right.
Point to it.
And they could read the rules and be like,
Just
"Awesome, I'm
wanderers.
down." And it really was a great. There were a lot of randos.
Drifters.
No, I know.
people I'd
That's-
never met
it's funny
before, who I'm
because
still
it's true.
friends with
Yeah.
that I met in that house.
Yeah.
But
for
Johnny,
sure.
you're
But-
right. If they came over and just like heard you say the rules, they'd be like, "Fuck you! I'm going to play my rules." You're like, "No, these
Right.
are
no.
the
Look,
rules."
those are the house rules for this
Yeah.
game. If you want to play on the table, those are the rules.
Yeah.
Just so we don't have any disagreements. But we had a tournament to end all tournaments, and me and Luke Skywalker beat Luke Skywalker and Luke Skywalker, and
I know
And-
exactly who you're talking
and it was
Yeah, the weird
and
thing
it was
is, in my
such a
brain,
close.
I see the faces.
It was such an
Luke
epic
Skywalker.
showdown. We made it to the finals, and then it went to like overtime, and we won by 1 point. And they were so angry.
Oh,
we
there
were
was so much
gloating
anger.
a little, and they were doing the fuck. Damn it! Like walking around, and they wouldn't talk to us for the rest of the night. And I was like, "You guys really should." not
It got
be
really
this
Of
angry."
competitive.
course, Luke Skywalker would do that. Yeah.
But so
Foosbeer.
foosbeer
I got very angry.
is a
All's fair
version,
in
a
love
modified
Yeah,
version
describe
of
it.
foosball, where you every time you score, you have to take a drink of your beer. You let go of the sticks, you pick up your beer, you drink, you put your beer down, and you grab the sticks again.
You're
and-
not allowed to touch them
and
while
until
you're drinking.
until you take your
yeah.
drink. Yeah, you can't go
Oh,
back
and
to
your
the
partner
sticks.
too.
So during that time, the other team can take the ball you scored on them, serve, and try to get a point quick. And if they can do that before you can drink and get back to the game, they get a multi-ball. And then it's all the balls at once.
Oh my
and
God,
the same
multi-ball?
rule.
How
applies.
many balls are in the multi-ball?
It depends. We would have
many
anywhere
as
from
there
3
were
to
balls.
6, depending
3
on
to
how many
6?
were missing. Yeah.
At any given
Sometimes
time.
they'd go flying, get lost under the couch or something.
Right.
But it was great because
Explain it
if
to
the
the
better you
listeners.
do, the drunker you get. So it makes it easier for people not as good to play.
Which is
And
how
it-
all
and it-
drinking games should be.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
game
I
encouraged
agree.
you to go quickly. You got to take your drinks fast
Yeah.
before they score on you. So you're not
Right.
like taking your time like beer pong, like milling around between
No.
shots. And in beer pong, if you lose, you get drunk. The good people don't drink and keep playing. Like, that's not fun for everybody. So it was a great equalizing drinking game.
It was a high energy drinking game.
Yeah.
It was a high energy game, and it really took off. It was very popular. It spread to a few SUNY
It wasn't
schools.
great
Luke
for the
Skywalker made it
neighborhood
very
noise,
popular.
like levels on a Tuesday night at 2 a.m.
Nah, it was fine.
Just kids.
Yeah.
One of the weird things about our schedule at the Burrow was me and Luke Skywalker, who shared a room, were in college. Johnny, I believe you were working at a gym, right?
One of my jobs at the time.
So I think you would
I
get
was
home
working at
at
a coffee shop.
I
too,
believe
think.
on let's say Tuesday nights, you would get home from work at around 11 or something, and we had a Bulgarian friend stay over every Tuesday night instead of commuting from the city. Let's call her name Luke Skywalker.
Leia.
Leia
Skywalker.
Yeah.
Hold it together, Luke. Actual Luke.
And so we would get home from orchestra rehearsal around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you would get home around 11. So we were about 3-4 beers ahead of you. You would get home, chug a few beers. We would kind of ramp up the night by 11:30, and by 1:30 we were in full on rage mode. Because it was Tuesday night, it was our routine every week.
That sounds right. Yeah.
But for people that are just living their normal life, and I know this now as being an older adult, because I was 22 at the time and now I'm 30, they must have hated us. We would at 1:45 in the morning, we would be like, "Oh my God, we have to go to the View."
Yeah.
And there was a view that you would walk maybe 30 seconds from the house, and you would be at a beautiful view.
Yeah.
And we would stumble down to this view. It's a 180-degree view
Just
of the
yelling
water.
the whole way.
It's beautiful.
And be screaming and chain smoking cigarettes. Drinking beers.
Screaming. We brought beers with us. Who cares? It's so private. It's a quiet neighborhood. And I remember one time a guy came out of his house and just said, "Guys, can you be reasonable?" And I looked at him. I'm like, "I'm so sorry." You're so right. We're screaming. At 2 in the morning.
Yeah, he wasn't
Tuesday.
telling you to stop. He was just just be reasonable.
Yeah.
Any amount.
Right now you're screaming. Just talk.
Yeah. Or just
Yeah.
scream
Don't stop,
less
just
loud.
talk.
Well, it was windy
Bring it
there, so
down.
you kind of had to shout, and then you didn't realize the wind went down, and now you're just screaming. There's a house 10 feet away.
Do you guys remember the Burrow story where there was a TV that was just playing a random channel, and I decided to run the experiment. There was maybe 20 people in the house, and I started increasing the volume of the TV by 1 click every minute. And 20 minutes later, the TV's insanely loud, and all of a sudden Luke Skywalker just props up from the couch. He's like, "Something." This is actually Luke Skywalker's brother.
Oh, this was
Yeah.
older Luke. Older Luke Skywalker.
Older
Luke Skywalker.
And older Luke Skywalker props up from the couch
Luke
and just
Skywalker
looks
Senior.
around. He's just something's wrong. Something's not working here. Scans the room, looks at the TV, spots the problem, hits the volume down button, and then everything returned to normal. But before that, as I increased, everybody just started yelling over the TV that I was increasing, and I was just sitting on the couch like a crazy maniacal evil genius, just being like, "I am controlling these poor humans."
I think monkey is a more appropriate term, but
Whatever
I see what
I
you're going
was,
for.
yeah.
I think he's Han Solo.
He is Han
We
Solo.
can call him Han
He's
Solo.
the Han Solo.
Yeah,
Are we
he is
allowed?
Han Solo.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Go for it.
Any Star Wars character is his game.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wait, older Luke Skywalker Senior is Han Solo.
Is Han Solo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Han-
That makes sense.
Han
We
shut it
love
It
down.
actually
Han Solo,
fits
by
way
the way.
too
Yeah,
well.
that makes
So-
a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot
So
of
we
sense.
were the porch on that house was awesome. It was a shitty chicken wire screened in porch.
Oh, yeah.
I
Kind
love
of just
that porch.
stapled to 2x4s, but it was pretty bug free in the summer.
Well, until the
and,
moldy
and it was
boxes.
cooler than the rest of the house.
It was
'cause there's
bug
no
free
AC.
because there were no lights out there.
and there were no lights, but you could smoke cigarettes out there, and it was cooler than inside the house.
I think
most
you
of the
put a
time.
light out there, right, Johnny? But
I hung like one of those car work
Yeah.
lights, garage lights.
But we would
on
turn
just
it
a
off if it
nail in
was
a wall.
summer and buggy, and
Right.
when the light was off, you really didn't get bothered that much. Also,
No, it wasn't.
we left the kitchen light on, so the bugs would go to the window where the kitchen window was, and they
And
wouldn't
not
really
to the
bother
door.
us in the porch.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Clever.
But so we were out there and wasted, and Luke
And
Skywalker
screaming.
decided screaming.
Obviously.
And it was a hill. Like we were on one side of a hill on that side of the lot, and it was all wooded. You couldn't get down the hill; it was so steep and like thick with vegetation. And then there was a road there, and then the hill went up on the other side of the road, so it was like a little valley.
Yeah.
So there was a house right across there, and I
Much
never
closer
even
than it
realized, never even realized it was there. It'd get dark, and you don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
But
Sound
they definitely heard
reverberates
us
over
below.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, the hills.
So Luke
reverberate,
Skywalker
yeah.
decided to start playing a loud Baroque instrument. Let's just leave it at that, so it's not too specific.
Are you talking about
I
me?
guess it's-
No, Luke
no, it was a
Skywalker.
French horn. But Luke Skywalker
Oh.
started
Oh.
blasting a French horn at like 2 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy opened his front door and just screams, "Shut the fuck up!"
Yeah.
like that. And it's just quiet. And Luke Skywalker goes, "Sorry."
Yeah.
And you just hear him go, "Just shut up." And then we were like good for like 40 minutes. And then it happened
I thought you were
again.
going to say 4 days or something. You're
No,
like,
it happened again later that night.
4 hours.
Shut up! And we're like, all right, let's just stay inside the rest of the night. And then
It
we
was
just went
hard.
back to it the next night.
Yeah.
But
Do you guys remember when the cops were
you should have
called
bought
to the house?
earplugs.
When were the cops called?
More than once, right?
No.
Yeah, I'm saying like one of the times.
I don't think I was ever there
I
when
think
the
they got
cops were
called 3 or 4 times.
Really?
It was always
but
noise
every-
complaint or
yeah,
street parking.
Every
was the
time
other
they
thing.
came,
Yeah.
there was we only like they always came and everybody
They came too late.
would be gone.
Yeah, the
and
evidence
we would
was
just
gone.
be sitting quietly.
Yeah, that was just luck.
So
They
I
would
remember.
show up.
I remember one time was when we had that crazy.
Right.
The windows were all open, and we all decided like, "Hey, we've been swimming in the Sound all day, like the salt water. So let's take a shower." And we all like were in our bathing suits and just kind of rinsed off in the shower, like 7 people in our bathing suits. I might add.
Yeah.
But things got weird because we were wasted. We were day drinking all
There were
day.
donuts.
No, ketchup
It
came
didn't
into the
get
shower.
weird in
Mayonnaise
like
came
a
into the
sexual
shower.
way.
Dear
Wait, I
God.
don't remember this story.
You
No, I
weren't
thought
there.
it was donuts and it was jelly.
No, their side of the shower got a lot weirder than our side. Our side, we were eating jelly
Hey,
and cream cheese and jelly bagels.
right, bagel.
Take
But
it
you
easy,
guys are
Johnny.
doing
I
weird
remember
stuff with the
shampooing your
food.
I've not
chest.
heard this story.
Well, it probably needed it.
I think there are pictures of me shampooing your chest, depending on
I
how.
hope there's not
We'll,
pictures.
we'll
of
post that
night.
in the Thunk Tank, folks.
Oh, there are pictures somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
There, yeah.
Just flip phones.
You were
up.
jelly donated, Johnny. Don't worry
It was
about it.
donated.
And then I remember.
Yeah, it was me and Leia Skywalker, and then like 4 Luke Skywalkers, and then the 2 of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
a lot of
Wow,
Skywalkers.
I remember it became like funny, like basically Luke Skywalker got in the shower, and another Luke Skywalker was like, "Well, I mean, you're in
not
your
gonna
bathing
wait."
suit, so I'm just gonna like quick rinse off too. I'm not gonna wait for you." And then I was like, "How many people can we fit in here?" And then all of a sudden, that became the
It became a
joke.
phone booth
And
thing.
we got
yeah.
like 8 people in there, and we
It
were
really
so
worked.
wasted that it was for some reason funny.
it was hilarious.
And then the cops.
Do you know
got
what was
called?
funny? The
No,
most
no, no,
funny
not
part.
No, the
is-
best part is the cops show up, like always would show up an hour after everyone left, and there'd just be like 1 or 2 of us left awake, just like drinking and like
Playing
smoking
video
a
games.
cigarette on the porch. One time they showed up and there was a huge party going on, and I was outside smoking a cigarette with Leia Skywalker, and they and most of the cars had left, but there was still a bunch of people there.
But it was quiet at that point, right?
But it had quieted down, and
Yeah.
everyone was inside, and we closed the windows because it had cooled off a little bit.
yeah.
And we were just outside smoking when they came up, and I was like, "What do you need?" And you could tell they wanted to knock on the door, and I was like, "No, this is my ID. See, it's this address. What do you
Yeah.
need?" And they're like, "There's some noise complaints." I'm like, "Yeah,
It's
I
just
heard
me.
a party down
Yeah.
the street, but
It's just
I
me,
think it
yeah.
died down."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I'm just got off work. I'm just having. I was wasted. I was like, just having a cigarette. you know?
But you're allowed
And they
to
were
be
like,
wasted
all
at home
right.
so you're not causing a disturbance.
I'm wasted in my side yard smoking a cigarette. What do
Yeah.
you
He
want?"
came inside so calm. It was just like, I took care of it, guys.
Yeah, I was too wasted to get worked up about
Drunk
it.
confidence right there.
Though I guess for me, a lot of those memories, as wonderful as they are, some of them are tainted by Kylo Ren. Or I don't even know what Darth Maul. Like, what would I even call him?
Kylo Ren?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one who crashed our wedding and
Oh,
definitely
Kylo
has
Ren,
like
Oh,
Kylo Ren
Skywalker.
was in the shower, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
he was. That's what I
Yeah.
was
The
thinking.
guy was a real
Yeah.
piece of shit.
Is,
Kylo Ren.
probably.
Probably still a piece of shit.
You guys,
It's weird
me
that
you
I
know who
took
we're
a
talking
shower
about.
with Kylo
I
Ren.
think Tommy ever knew him.
that's good.
What?
I didn't.
You didn't take a shower with Kylo
No,
Ren.
you definitely
think
weren't in the
so.
shower with Kylo
No,
Ren.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure if you've interacted with Kylo Ren. Like,
But that was one.
at
That
all.
guy was one of those guys who he like knew we were a cool group, and like he had some money and we didn't, so he knew he could get away with his weirdness if he just would treat us to stuff. Like he would show up with a case of beer.
Oh,
throw
and
a
he was
pack
like
of
10 years
smokes,
older than any of
or
us.
and it's like you got to look out for those people, like you young partiers. It's like if somebody's that age and they're still hanging out with your group and they don't have any friends their age or your age, you know what I mean? Like there's something up there that they
Not a good
flag.
groups. There's a certain amount of people who just and it took like actually hanging out with someone like that to be like, oh, okay, that's a real thing.
Toxic.
But and I've moved enough times that you recognize that like it's weird in your 30s moving to a new city and being like trying to make friends. Like, hey guys, do you want to play? Because most people have like an established.
Honestly,
group by
that's the best way to
then
do
or
it is
whatever.
say that sentence. Just be honest. Be like, hey, I kind of want to play with you. Like, do you want to play?
But you got to
I
be
don't know if
careful.
that's the
Sometimes
best.
you
Nah,
meet
that
the
doesn't
guy
sound
who you meet a guy who you think is cool and interesting, and it takes a little while, and you're like, oh, you're fucking crazy. That's why you don't have any friends, and you're from here.
Well, you
Like,
refine
you know?
that radar over time because there's definitely people. There's a lot of people.
You don't want to leave
looking-
anyone out.
Well, and
for
there's
that.
a lot of people
Yeah.
too where it's like, first impressions aren't always on both sides. It goes both ways where you think like, oh, this person's cool, and it turns out that they're a piece of shit. And there's other people where I'm like, oh, this person's kind of like awkward or whatever, and you're like, oh, they just like they're kind of socially awkward, but they're super cool.
Right. I
you know?
misjudged them. In the
Yeah,
beginning.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah, no, Kylo Ren was just a piece of shit.
So Kylo
But-
Ren would regularly like treat people to like be like, "Hey, I'm. What are you doing right now? Like, I can pick you up and we'll go to lunch." And he would like buy you a $20 like entree for lunch, and then you would like have like to say 2 beers, and then he would randomly be like, "Let's take a shot of like what's the expensive? Is it Black Label or Blue Label?"
yeah, he liked taking shots of Blue Label.
Yeah,
Johnny
Blue
Walker,
Label.
Blue Label.
Johnny Walker Blue Label.
He bought Whippets one time.
Whippets. Whippets.
Like we went to get cigarettes and he was like, guys, we got to do this. And we
Let's
were
do
like,
some
we
Whippets.
really don't want to or care to.
what is Whippets? Nitrous?
Kylo Ren.
Or the one time
Classic
that
Kylo Ren.
I forgot
the
about
one
him.
time that I was alone with him, like Johnny went to pick something up and I just didn't want to go, and Kylo Ren ended up staying with me. He tried to show me snuff porn,
Wait,
and that did I never tell you that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he tried to. He was like, because we were kind of talking about.
He was a
Like,
very open
weird
talker
stuff.
about anything. Like he would bring up weird topics and just be like,
He's a weird dude.
No,
I'd be
he's
like, "How's it
definitely
going,
into
man?"
that
He's
shit.
like, "Oh, this girl was giving me a blowjob today and like stuck her finger up my ass. It was kind of weird, but I kind of liked it." I'm
Do you know
like,
what the weird thing is that
um,
he was really good.
"Okay, I just met you."
He was
I had
really
an egg
good
sandwich
friends
for
with,
lunch. That's what I was kind of asking.
He was really good friends with Luke Skywalker too.
with Leia Skywalker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they all
Well,
worked
he was-
together.
he
they
was
were
the
all
thing,
like
this
a
At the
friend
Death
group.
Star.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
so
Death
Luke,
Star.
And the Death Star.
yeah, so they all worked at the. So Luke Skywalker, roommate Luke Skywalker, worked at the Death Star and brought back all of these people, including some Leia Skywalkers. that we
Fucking
liked,
imps.
but
bunch
But Kylo
of
Ren
fucking
was from there,
imperial, a bunch of fucking imps,
Imperial scum.
imperial scum up in our stuff. I mean, fun people. but, you know,
Wait. What spacecraft was the Burrow then?
It's
it
just
wasn't. It
the
was the
Burrow.
Burrow.
Yeah.
If anything, it's more of a
It's just
barn.
a Harry
just
Potter
Burrow.
reference
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
middle of all this.
It's just, you know what it is?
Our
It's
life
a
is a
small,
blend.
it's a small forest moon of Endor. Is what it is.
There you go. That's
You know?
it. Yeah.
I
It's,
mean, I don't
a
mean
little
to-
backwoods.
I don't like. I had a lot of hilarious, like dying of laughing moments with Kylo Ren. I think ultimately he's a piece of shit,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth
Right.
noting that even pieces of shit, like, have they have good sides enough that they create like funny times. I remember one morning waking up so hungover, we had a few beers. And then Kylo Ren was like, "Let's all go to brunch," and we had like a boozy brunch with Leia and Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker. And I was just like, "My God, life is awesome." Sometimes I'm like, here I am Sunday. I'm really hungover, drinking at brunch, and like, fucking Kylo Ren's driving. Wasted after brunch
Wasted,
while
yeah.
bragging about the fact that he doesn't have a license.
Yeah, because he had like 2 DWIs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got
that's
so many
poor decision
DWIs.
He
making
had
on your
he
part.
had to leave. He had to leave Tatooine because he had too many DWIs.
He did. That's why he was in our
Tatooine
world.
is the perfect way to describe
That's why
where
he was
had
in
to
our
leave.
world. Yeah.
Is that in
We
Arizona?
Close.
Jesus, yes.
but like we were so broke at the time. I remember one time with him, that we were talking about. I was like, wow, it's such a nice day. We should have a barbecue. And I laughed. I was like, huh, yeah. Like, let's have a clam bake. Because, like, I had, like, $6 or something, like, ridiculous. I was like, I got to pay rent in 3 weeks. Like, there's no barbecue happening today.
My cash sock is running low.
Yeah, the cash stock.
I was like, I got to spend this $6 on Rolling Rock tonight. Like, I can't even, I don't even have.
You know, you guys
I'm
said
running a
$6.
Rolling Rock pizza scheme
Yeah,
tonight.
he had to lure
Yeah.
pizza patrons.
So, and then he was like, no, let's do it. He's like, fuck yeah, clam bake, let's do it. And he's like, I'll go to the store. And he went with Leia Skywalker. And they came back with like hundreds of dollars with like seafood and meats and like
Oh my God,
charcoal
like
and cups
top
and
of the
dips
line
and sides
steaks and
like
prime ribs.
like all this stuff. And I was like who's gonna eat all this? Like, oh, we'll just call people. And we just walked down to the water and like
There
grilled
were like
it.
15,
and
20 people there, right?
yes, some other people from the Death
and it
Star
was-
showed up.
Yeah, a bunch of fucking imps showed up, and it was like I ended up having to leave early for work, but it was just like, wow, this would have just been us sitting.
for work. You're like, we partied hard, and then I went to work.
Wait, somebody's
we were,
gotta
like,
tell
just
the
sitting in
non-Star
s-
Wars listeners what an imp is.
Imperials.
An Imperial.
Yeah, meaning like
Yeah,
the,
but that
the
doesn't
guys in the
explain
white.
it if you've never
like,
seen
imp-
Star Wars.
You should
Yeah.
probably watch Star Wars before.
If you don't know who the Imperials are,
Yeah,
this is
I
a
will become a Star
podcast.
Wars geek
Yeah,
/ Burrow cast.
yeah.
You give so less explanation for any and all Seinfeld quotes.
It's
or
true,
Sonny
yeah.
or so many
That's
other
also-
things.
that's also
Just,
definitely
yeah,
true.
we've said Luke Skywalker enough times. I think they get.
I'm
what
new
we're
to the
doing here.
Star Wars, like understanding Star Wars references.
Really?
Whereas my current fiance is new to the Seinfeld
What?
thing.
It's a
As
long.
opposed to your past fiance.
It's a long
Oh, that's
story.
it's a running joke. I accidentally said current fiance in
I see.
in 3 episodes ago.
On the episode that we did with me and his brother, he said, "Well, my current fiance, blah blah," and me and Eric immediately turned to each other and said, "Luke, what the fuck did you just say?"
I was just saying factually, she's my current fiance.
No, your only fiance ever. That's what you should say.
So far.
Say good luck. Good luck trying to get another one.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Anyways.
Joe, what's your craziest memory from the Burrow?
The memory, I got to remember it.
Well,
Whatever
Luke, you
pops
seem
in.
like you have
Well,
one
I-
queued up.
I
I'll-
actually
I'll-
don't. That's why I'm like directing the question.
I'll-
Actually,
I'll-
I want to know what Tommy's.
I'll
I'll
craziest
jump in
Burrow
because I was
memory is.
young, so I don't have that many memories of
Yeah.
it. I'll give time for Joe to think of something. I don't remember if it was Cinco de Mayo or something, but I came over there and you guys had this pinata. and
Oh,
it
that was my
filled
Joe's
with
birthday.
many-
yeah.
It was Joe's
Cinco
birthday.
de Joe.
And it was
Cinco de
filled
Joe,
with
yeah.
No, it's Cinco de Mayo. Come on.
That works.
Cinco de
There's a lot
Jose.
of names for it.
Padme came by from the Death Star and
She
had filled
did.
up a pinata
She
full
did.
You
of
guys-
tiny
Padme
liquor
did
bottles.
come.
You guys
Full
got
top
mini
shelf
liquors,
liquor
right?
bottles.
Yeah, I remember
Somebody
that.
got a pinata full of tiny liquors, and then
But it was top shelf stuff.
It was very
yes,
good stuff.
And then,
yeah.
well, Leia brought over a second one, so we had 2 pinatas full of mini liquors, and then we got hammered.
Yeah, there were like little bottles of Johnny Walker and like Beefeater gin and like good quality like alcohol and like single malt Macallan. I was like, what? Like nice little shots. And when people realized it was like, oh, there's Scotch whiskey and like good single malts, that's when the adults started acting like it was candy.
Oh,
kids with candy.
I remember my favorite.
Like, oh my god, there's Patron in there. All right.
I remember my favorite Burrow memory. It was me and Luke Skywalker. I'll call him Silly Luke Skywalker. I think that clarifies who he is. He lives out in I don't know where he lives out in now, but anyways,
Yeah, I think
Don't
I know
worry
who you
about it.
mean.
Don't-
I know who
don't-
you mean.
Doesn't matter.
we were partaking.
Cyborg Luke Skywalker after he had a limb replaced.
Yes,
the
correct,
hands, yeah.
correct.
I know who you're
Correct.
talking about.
Yes, thank you. We actually transcended universes, and we went to we had gotten some spice, and so we were
Nice.
partaking in the spice, and we were playing foosbeer while partaking of the spice, and
Spice melange.
yes, spice melange, and it was just like the silliest thing ever, just like trying to play foosbeer while like spiced up, and like we just played for hours, just nonstop.
Spice is a street drug. That's not what we're talking about, guys. This is a Dune reference, in case
Oh,
anyone's
wait.
Yeah, it's all
Hold on,
sci-fi
is-
reference.
Yeah, but spice is artificial, like that K2 weed stuff that makes people go psycho.
Oh, dude, God,
That's
no,
not
I wasn't
what-
doing
That's
that.
not what
No.
they were doing.
No, cinnamon. That's what I
Spice
thought.
melange. Yeah,
And
the
oregano.
space cinnamon.
Yeah.
Are you telling your craziest Burrow story?
Yeah,
Joe?
he,
Yeah. Well, it's just like my most or one of my most memorable, where it was just like, okay, that
Wait,
was,
with Luke Skywalker who lives in Denver.
yes,
Yes. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Denver and Denver
Chewbacca.
quadrant of the Death Star.
Yeah,
He's been on the cast.
Johnny, the Denver system. Come on.
Denver system.
Yeah, it's in the outer rim. It's in the outer rim, bro.
If anyone could survive Coruscant, it's definitely silly Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, definitely silly Luke Skywalker. So that was one of my favorites. I don't know. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
silly Luke Skywalker is probably the best thing to come out of the Burrow.
Yeah, I would say so. Right, like that.
Although,
talk
remember
about
that
a
time-
lasting legacy. Like he's.
Do you remember that time when a group
I take
of
full
them
credit for
took-
bringing Luke Skywalker into the friend group.
Oh, you should. Thank you.
Yeah,
That
you're
time
welcome.
when you what, Johnny?
the time that a group of people in that house took a bunch of psychedelics and then drew all over my bedroom walls with magic markers.
You were one of those
Or Sharpie
people, friend.
Yeah, I was
markers.
gonna say, Johnny, like you were heavily. I believe if let me
Involved.
I like okay. Instead of rewriting the memory as that, just remember you would give people markers and say, "Can you draw on my wall?"
Well, if they were cool, interesting people and we'd been partying,
But
really
you made
hard,
it sound
yeah.
like you were the victim of some psychedelic crime.
No, I mean I definitely started it,
Yeah.
but it was pretty cool. Although my one friend did draw this creepy eyeball, and I was like,
yeah.
"Dude, don't do that. I'm gonna like lay in bed staring at that." He's like, "Too late." And I did, and it would freak the shit out of me if I was too stoned.
I mean, it was really
and
cool.
sitting in my
Like you
room.
could like
was
your
cool.
room became like a cool hangout. Like if there were 5 people that were like, "Let's leave the party." Like
5?
let's because we
Branch off.
Well, my room was not a room.
You
it was
could
a
not
closet.
fit
You
5
could fit a
people in
futon
there.
and my desk,
oh you
and the
could
door
get 5
would
people
open.
in there,
And
It
you
was-
could, but that was literally the room. It was a desk, a futon, and a space for the door to open.
What was the most
So
amount of
the
people
r-
we had at the house in general? Would you say like the biggest party
Like
we had?
50 probably.
Yeah, 50, I would say.
But that
50?
house
Yeah.
was not.
That's a
the
lot of
capacity
people for
was
that
like
house.
a dozen.
Oh, 20
Yeah.
was like making the house feel crowded. So 50 was a lot, but that means we were spilling to the bedrooms and the outside.
So this was the early
And the beach.
Obama years where
Oh, the
blunts
glory
were
days.
really popular in the suburbs. So we would cram in my bedroom with like 5 or 6 people all crammed up on the futon and 2 up against the door, and we would smoke blunts in there and just get that room so smoky that the blunt would go out because there wasn't enough oxygen. So probably not great for your brain cells, but there was a broken outlet too on the wall, and Luke Skywalker started drawing on it actually and turned it into like a burnt out circuit, and then he came back and he turned it into a whole R2D2 thing.
Oh,
So
I
I did
remember
have
that, yeah.
Speaking of Luke Skywalker's, I did sleep next to like a life-size R2D2 drawing on my wall for like a year.
Now, the funny thing is, this house, the Burrow, so this was the year, I believe, let's say 2011, 2012.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
I was 21. I became 22 the first year of the house. The second year, Johnny moved out, and Luke Skywalker, who shared a room with me, took Johnny's room, and my girlfriend at the time moved into the house.
What are you going to call her, Chewbacca?
Let's call her
Ewok.
Ewok number
C-
1.
C3.
Wait, I thought somebody moved in. I thought somebody moved.
How about
into-
Laura Dern?
I thought your brother moved in.
That was 4 months
the Hutt.
after Luke Skywalker was there.
Okay.
So Luke Skywalker was going
Let's
to
call
move
her
out
Tarkin because she
Greedo.
kind of sucked.
and live with Mama Skywalker.
Right.
I'm not making. If I were a true Star Wars geek, I would have found a character name that worked for that.
Yeah, it would have been his aunt,
Yeah.
whatever her name.
Whatever. But
Aunt
I remember
Burrow.
he said,
Yeah, that's
"Hey, I'm really not trying to like live with my mom just yet. Can I like just rent out Johnny's old room? I'll give you like, $400 a month, but I just don't want to like move home yet." I'm like, that basically works for my budget. Like to take $400 off my rent. Sure, deal. Turned out to be more of a problem than you would think.
Why?
Just like, if only for the fact of learning how much Luke Skywalker drove drunk.
Oh, God, I hate that.
Yeah.
Multiple times Luke Skywalker would come into my room and be like, "Yo, this crazy thing happened. I was like fingering this girl while dancing, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, crazy night." And then I'd see him in the morning and it'd be like, "Hey man, like you're not going to believe like I had such a crazy night." I'm like, "You came into my room while I was sleeping and told me all about this already."
Jesus Christ.
He was not as good of a pod racer.
And
as he
he's
thought
like,
he
"I
was.
did?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Did you drive home last night?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I remember one time Han Solo had to rescue Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker
Yes.
was driving home from a bar, wasted, fell asleep, somehow like managed to pull his car off to the side of the road and put it in park. Fell asleep.
Jeez.
A cop came up, knocked on the window. It said, "What the fuck's going on?" He's just like, "Oh, like I got sleepy." And the cop was nice enough to say, if you call someone to pick you up, like they can take you home right now. Because he didn't know what was going on. Like maybe, like it wasn't.
The cop can't leave you there because if you are drunk, you might decide to start driving, and
Exactly.
then they're in trouble for not arresting you. But if someone can come and get you before they have to go do something else, they don't have to.
Also,
arrest
it was
you.
like 5 a.m. So I think they were like already sleeping there for 2 hours potentially. And it was like that weird in between. Like, I'm not sure what this
the bars
is.
have been closed long enough that you're at least this sober. So,
So anyways, Han Solo came and picked him up. And that was just like, you got off scot-free on that one. Even though
got
you
lucky.
Lucky Luke.
you could have gotten like
You use the force, Luke.
the worst. yeah. He basically looked at the cop and was like, "There are no problems here."
I will call my friend now.
I'm not the droid you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. He also banged the foosball table a lot.
Yeah, let's talk
He
about that.
did put his penis
I forgot
in
about
the
that.
ball hole.
Yeah.
You know, Luke Skywalker.
So on a foosball table, there's a little hole in the middle where you put in the ball.
And the ball.
Freudian
Ball
slip.
and the ball.
And I remember more than once he would just be like, hey guys, and you would turn around because this would be like in the middle of a party, and he would just be like, look, and point down, and he would be like humping with his penis through the
With his
foosball hole.
lightsaber.
Yeah, with
With his lightsaber, sticking his lightsaber through the false
Keep
ball.
it
And
clean.
it'd just be like, dude, there's like people here. It's not even like it's just your roommates. I'm there.
But he looked at you like this.
yeah, he had that look.
He always had this
isn't
look
this
at you,
fucking
like no matter
hilarious?
what ridiculous thing he was doing, he would look at you and be like, "Yeah, but come on, man, isn't this funny?"
Yeah.
And you're
I
like,
mean, it was hilarious.
"You're not wrong."
Yeah, no, he wasn't wrong.
Can I tell my craziest Burrow story?
Yes.
All right. So names are going to be hard for this one, but let's just say a
Luke
friend of
Skywalker?
ours named Luke Skywalker was a movie maker. They
Movie maker.
were
I have no idea who you're talking about.
they were
so I'm
decently serious about making movies
They
to the
were?
extent that
We're all like, who the fuck are you talking?
they had a whole crew.
David Lynch?
They had a whole crew, and they had hired actors, and they came over our house once, and this person was like, "Hey, your house is actually the outside part of this is actually the perfect fit for this scene I want to shoot in my movie."
I like how we are also blacked out. We have no idea who you're talking about.
I'll tell you after the cast. Anyways, this was a Saturday morning that they wanted to shoot. So I was like, yeah, that sounds interesting. I like interesting things. Of course, they had to call my phone and wake me up on a Saturday morning because we raged Friday night. But in any case, they start setting up, and like me and Luke Skywalker, my roommate, are just kind of waking up and being like, what's happening outside? And like this guy was setting up like legit cameras. Like he had like these like white sheets to like make the lighting just right so the sun would reflect off and do all this shit. There was an actor inside. I remember I got up, I went to the bathroom, I came outside, and there was this Asian guy with his pants off, like changing his outfit in the foosball area. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm Steve. I'm just like, I'm going to be in the next scene. I'm like, next, like what?
Next scene.
So eventually the roommate, Luke Skywalker, wakes up. I'm like, dude, do you remember how we told Luke Skywalker he can shoot a movie here? It's happening today.
it's happening now.
So that was happening for like 2-3 hours. And me and Luke Skywalker, roommate Luke Skywalker, decided, well, it's a Saturday. There's a movie being shot outside our house. Let's just start drinking beer. So we were about like 6 beers in, let's say. It was about 2 p.m. And we were like, let's go to school and practice. We got to eat some lunch. Like we skipped breakfast and just started drinking beer. Like we felt pretty, as my mom would say, 3 sheets to the wind.
You're in the tank.
So anyways, we have to get the car that was like the movie car to move out. It was a whole thing. finally, Luke Skywalker. Oh my god. Luke Skywalker pulls his car out, but he has to do like a 3-point turn in the neighbor's driveway, and the neighbor's driveway was like a hill that was like almost like 45-degree angle up. Luke Skywalker pulls his car up, and the bottom of the car goes, and he looks at me and goes, "Uh-oh," and I'm like, and he just puts it in reverse and goes backwards and goes. The neighbor comes outside and looks at us like, what the fuck? Like, not only did you ruin my night last night partying, now you're ruining my driveway, and there's some weird people shooting a movie out. Like what's going on?
Yeah,
and
none of that's okay. None of that's
none of this is okay.
Yeah.
And we were dying laughing for the 20-minute drive from our house to campus. Like every time like there was silence in the car, you know when you lose it like with giggles.
Yeah.
Like let's say you're 6 beers deep at 1 p.m. on a Saturday.
You're just drunk driving to school. This is a terrible story.
He was drunk driving to school, basically.
And you guys giggled the whole way there, and it was all fine. This is a horrible message.
And then we got to school to practice. We got burritos like for lunch, and then we got to school, and I just took a nap in my practice room.
You didn't even practice.
No.
Did he practice,
my
or did he
favorite
just
part
nap
of
at
that
his?
was like we would be on like halfway to school on the highway, and it would just be quiet, and then I'd be like, like it just start dying laughing, like our life is ridiculous. This is not real life. This can't be real life, but it was.
Was it?
I don't know. Is this?
Nobody remembers
We're
a
in
movie being
quarantine now.
filmed there except for you.
I can find that movie and post it as a link.
Please, I would like to see it. That sounds.
I'll tell you
legendary.
off air who it was.
Yeah,
I can tell you on air it was Luke Skywalker.
Right. Obviously.
Wait, has anybody not given their craziest Burrow memory yet?
I have it, but I feel bad telling the story. It's really personal.
I mean, you can tell it.
All right. Well, okay. I'll tell it this way. It was me, Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker.
Oh God,
Luke
that's a
Skywalker,
lot.
Leia
A lot of Luke.
That's a lot of Luke
Skywalkers.
Skywalkers. Yeah.
Well, I don't even want you guys to know because I don't want to embarrass this person. But it was me and 2 Skywalkers, and we were talking about self-pleasuring. And we were talking about different techniques because we're 3 guys day drinking, and like one of us had a date or something, or maybe you were coming back into town. I don't remember what, but like the topic came up, and we were talking. Me and Luke Skywalker were talking about different like techniques and like preferences of like lotions versus lubricants versus like nothing, but versus like whatever. And the other Luke Skywalker was like just participating, and we were talking about stuff. He's like, "Yeah, don't you hate it when you like jerk off a bunch and then it's all like bloody and chapped and raw?"
Jesus.
And we're like, Jesus, what does that mean? You're not doing it right. Like, what are you talking? He's like, yeah, from the friction. And so we asked, we're like, well, what do you use? Do you use like hand lotion, or do you use like personal lubricant? He's like, oh, no, just nothing, just my hand. And we're like, well, that's the problem. And he's like, oh, that sounds gross to like use something else. And we're like, no, you're an adult. Like, no one's had this talk with you. And I went into my room and got a bottle of it. And I was like, here, this is like half full. You take the rest of this. I'll go get another one.
You just experienced lotion jerking off.
Right. And Luke
See you in a
Skywalker was
week.
very skeptical. And then like within a week was like, oh, life's changed. Like totally was turned around by it.
I think I remember that story.
That's like.
But like I think about that all the time, that interaction. That might have been one of the like most like altruistic, helpful things, philanthropic things I've ever done in my life.
Filibusters?
That's beautiful,
Yeah.
Johnny.
It's very
Yeah.
wholesome.
But I,
It's very wholesome.
I think about when I looked at the other Luke Skywalker, we're like, wait, is he serious or is he kidding right now? Like, no one's told him this. I was like, we had that look like, should you tell him? Should either of us? Should we just leave it be? And I was like, I got this. I'm gonna tell him.
Yeah.
You thought he was an evil genie? No, benevolent.
Yeah, benevolent
bored.
genie, a lotion spreading genie.
The genie gets nothing out of chafed penis. That doesn't do it for him.
Well, not this in this situation.
Yeah. No.
What was your most magical memory of the Burrow, Johnny?
I feel like
One of the big parties.
Yeah, I
I
feel like
think there's a
we're forgetting
birthday
a lot.
party where Luke Skywalker came over and like threw me a party, and that was fun.
Oh, I love Luke Skywalker.
You know which one I meant there. Yo, the one who said to Darth Vader, "Fuck you."
Fuck
That,
you,
one
that
Darth
Luke
Vader.
Skywalker.
The one who definitely threw gambling poker parties at the Burrow without asking anybody and brought weird people just so they could bet.
You can make some money off him. It's fine. I made money off him too.
I love that
No, the best
Skywalker.
was when that Luke Skywalker. We were all
Jesus.
hanging out, smoking a blunt. That's what you did. And there was this one. Let's call him. He was part of the rebellion. Let's call him a Skywalker. But there was one Skywalker who would be like, "Oh, I'll contribute,"
Oh
and,
my
and would like sprinkle like less than the oregano you would put on like your own pasta bowl.
I'm sorry, hold on. His name is officially C3PO.
That yeah.
Oh my!
Yeah.
So C3PO would like put like
We
a
love you.
sprinkling on like a gigantic blunt that was like going to be smoked by like 5 or 6 people.
Like
It had,
I've contributed.
you know,
yeah.
like 3 grams of weed are in it, and he put like 0.2 gram addition to it, maybe.
And he's like, now I'm 1/4 of this blunt.
Right, and he would act like that too, and like be the guy holding it and telling a terrible story you're only listening to because he's smoking your blunt and you're waiting for him to hand it to you.
Right.
But they mistake that for a genuine interest.
Yeah.
And at one point, Luke Skywalker told C-3PO, said, "You can't do this anymore." Like, and he was like, "What?" Like, so taken aback. He's like, "You can't hang out and smoke this. Like, you can hang out, but you are not smoking this blunt if you're going to behave it this way." And like, just broke it down very Larry Davidish. She's like, "You don't give the weed. You smoke more than your share, and you talk too much. Like, so I don't want to smoke blunts with you." And
You
it's gonna be
co-opt
like this.
the listening of the group by holding the blunt. You know that when you're holding
Right.
it, we're all looking at the blunt,
and it's and
hence
you can
looking at
kind
you.
of get away with that if you are the main contributor. If you're like, "Hey, I brought this giant blunt, smoke it with me."
Or if
Okay,
it's
we
a good
have to listen to
story.
Luke Skywalker's terrible stories now because he's just smoking.
Or if he
us
has
all
great
up.
If
stories.
it's a good story or if he contributed.
You got to bring
different
something
story.
to the table.
But neither.
yeah.
What are you doing?
But I remember, and then C-3PO was good for a while, a long while after that. You know, he
And then
he's public
he
shaming
met
worked
Leia
in that
Skywalker,
case.
and now they're really good.
Speaking of bringing something to the table, we have a relic from the Burrow that has survived. That's now in our studio.
Oh, we do.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's
The actual coffee
the
table,
actual
yeah.
coffee
Yeah.
table. From,
It's in this room.
Kept it
Yep.
safe
Not
for a
in this
while.
room,
Now
but-
it's at the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
Still going
I
strong.
remember that guy. That thing's unkillable.
Yeah, it survived
It's
the
still
Burrow.
going, man.
Yeah.
Still
Is that from
going.
Southampton too?
Yeah.
I had it out east when I went to.
Yeah.
It's been in a lot of party houses. That table.
Johnny, the amount
That's a
of
keeper.
Fabuloso I would spray on that table and just like make it smell better.
You could
Isn't
keep wiping it
Fabuloso the
after 100
best?
times and you'd still get dirt off of it. It was just permanent.
Johnny always brought Fabuloso home from the place he worked. And so our house always smelled like Is that the right?
From the Star
Is that what it was
Destroyer.
called? Fabuloso?
I have no idea.
Right, that
Yeah, the
like
purple stuff.
purple shit
the
that
best.
makes things smell better.
I love Fabuloso.
Makes it smell like a restaurant at 11:30
It's
p.m.
lavender.
right before it
it's,
closes.
it's lavender pine
Yeah.
sol. It's great.
Yeah.
It's like a sweet lavender pine
Exactly.
sol.
Joe, what was your most magical memory from the Burrow?
Jesus.
Jesus? I don't remember that.
Probably, you know, what I actually really liked about the Burrow was actually when it wasn't stressful, because it did get weird towards the end, like walking down to the water, because it would just be a couple of you, like, you know, shushing everybody else to stop yelling like maniacs.
It got hard to manage.
Yeah, it got hard to manage with too many people. But when it was like a chill group, I really liked just walking to that, because it was a cliff, right? You would walk to this
Yeah, it was
cliff,
a big cliff.
and
Beautiful
Couple
view.
hundred
like,
feet.
yeah, stunning
Such a
view.
beautiful
Yeah,
view.
yeah, 100-foot drop at least. Like, it was legit.
180-degree view of water.
Yeah, so I love just like having a good party time.
Yeah,
and
we
then-
know how coasts work, Luke.
No, but
It's a line.
some coasts have like parts of the coast that jut out. And you
It was a
can't
good
see
view.
a
You have to
lot.
get a wide
harbor.
view.
It was
But I
was
like
a
being
particularly
I like being
beautiful
able to
view.
rage and then walk to a sick view like that, and then like
Oh,
remove
and when
yourself.
the stars were out.
Yeah. Such star viewing, and then just go back into the rage. Just be like, all right, we're diving back.
good
in.
So
breather.
you had
Yeah.
like a separate space that you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not in rage. I'm looking at the stars.
Yeah.
Looking at
Which is a weird-
Connecticut.
just
Stick
to
it- a
shift in
place
some
to.
air.
You know what it is? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a spot in the ice sheet to come up
Refresh.
for air.
Yeah.
Before you go
Yeah.
back
Right.
down
exactly
into the
yeah.
depths.
Depths of
Yeah.
rage.
Exactly.
And you would come
the
back
depths
to the
of rage.
rage like with a better energy, right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, hey, like,
Rejuvenated.
you don't know what I just saw. I just saw a shooting star. Like,
Yeah,
like,
many.
But that house was so cold. Like we would run the heat at 65, and you'd have to wear your jacket in your bedroom. Like
well,
it was
the heat was archaic.
I mean, it
was
also-
a
it
heat
was just
house.
such
It was
a
not
and
meant to
it
be
but you
heated.
went through oil. That tank, like we were burning oil, and it just didn't keep the house very
That's
warm.
why when
So, like, you'd have people come over and you'd all be trying to drink beer standing around in coats. Like, this sucks. Like, it's only slightly better than outside.
No, that's part of the charm.
Well, that's why we eventually ended up keeping the house quite cold, and I would put those sheets over the living room area where the couches were, and I would put an electric heater in there, and like generally keep the house pretty cold. And then that came back to bite me when I lived there alone with my girlfriend at the time. A pipe burst in some random other room. Like, you remember that bathroom that was just like a fake unfinished bathroom?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
Was that by the
Forgot
porch?
about that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
a pipe
Yeah.
burst in there and just
but that was
started like
taped
leaking
off,
out
right?
water to the house. I'm like, well, this is, I guess, what I get for like keeping one room warm and all the other rooms cold.
Yeah.
Freezing.
Yeah.
Literally freezing. That living room was weird because you'd walk in and it was one room leading into the kitchen. And then, like, to your left, somebody had built up like only like 2 inches from the rest of the house.
Like a ledge.
and,
yeah.
and then a ledge with
Living
plywood
dead.
and carpeted it,
Yeah.
and that's all it was. You could tell because the plywood was so squishy and in certain spots and stained and
it felt
everything.
like you were
and
going to
so,
fall through the floor
at any
certain
given
spot.
time, and it was so gross because you
Eventually.
could tell the person before us had 20 cats because that
Who
carpet
pissed
stank.
everywhere. Yeah.
It stank, and then we just covered it with beer and like
There was that
cigarette
one
ash
spot
after
that particularly stank. Do you remember that?
the really squishy one.
Like, if
yeah,
you
it
put-
dissolved the wood underneath.
Whenever
That's how
I
much
was
cat piss
cleaning,
was
I'd be like, where's the smell coming from? And I'd put my nose down to the carpet and be like, oh my God, from there.
Weren't there also cats in the walls?
There were cats in the ceiling.
There was a one cat
But-
at least that lived in the attic
In the
that was
attic.
Yeah.
didn't belong to anybody.
But
that came with the house.
there were mice in the
House cat and
walls.
cat.
Yeah.
No, there
Which
was a
even
rat
though
in the wall.
even though we had a
Rat in the
feral
walls.
attic
But-
cat, we still had rats in the walls.
Yeah, so here's how bad the
What's the
rats
point?
were.
They got along.
Johnny and
Yeah,
I
damn
had
it.
gotten soap
They were in
one
cahoots.
time. Like,
Yeah.
we got like a couple
Oh,
a couple
yeah.
bars of soap, and they went missing. And we were so pissed at Luke and Luke Skywalker because we thought they took them. We were so angry. And then one time we opened up the closet in the living room, and there were eaten bars of soap.
was-
The rats
I-
had been
I had-
eating
So
the soap.
I
Yeah.
bought one of those like 8-packs of bars of soap, and when I finally remembered where it was in that closet in that room with the porous floor, cat piss floor. I opened it, and there was like only like half the bars were gone out of the pack. And yeah, I think we did think you used them at first, and then we saw the bars had little claw marks on them,
No teeth marks.
and like
They
yeah,
all
and
had
teeth
teeth
marks.
like a Luke.
And we're like,
Like
this
Luke definitely
rat,
used them. Yeah.
these rats ate like 2 whole bars of soap before they crawled off with some extras and then went and died somewhere on our walls because I never heard them
Of
after
soap
the
stomach.
soap incident.
The soap
But they ate a
incident.
shitload of my soap, and that got rid of them.
I remember
But
I knew
that-
we had a rat problem when there was an apple that Luke Skywalker left on his nightstand. And when I got home one day, the
was
apple had
gone?
like rat-sized bites taken out of it. And I was like, fuck that. There's been a rat in my room where I sleep. I'm calling the landlord. And you know what the landlord did? Brought over her pothead son to just like put a piece of 2x4 blocking a hole where we suspected the rat was getting into the, fucking house or whatever. And that was it. And like it kind of worked, but the rat just got
No, he
angrier
shoved
in the walls.
some steel wool down there in the
And ate
hole,
your
too.
soap.
You reminded me of something that Luke Skywalker used to do every night, and he did it so many times that we had another group of friends over, who I'm still friends with, but they were over, and we had just started kind of hanging out, and we were hanging out through this sleepy Luke Skywalker, who I'm about to tell a story about. And so sleepy Luke Skywalker would fall asleep, and then I would just hang out with his friends who were there, and that's how we ended up being friends. But there's that like awkward energy when the guy who you're friends with falls asleep, and now you're just hanging out with his roommate.
Right.
So it took us a while to get there. But I remember he fell asleep one night, and it had been like about the right amount of time, and the night was winding down. I was like, watch. And I said to him, I was like, watch this. Within any minute, he's going to stand up, because he was asleep, like leaning back on the couch, but sitting up. I was like, at any moment, he's going to straighten up, get up, go stretch, kick over the beer that they put down on next to their feet on the floor in front of the couch, kick over the beer, stumble to the kitchen, chug water out of the faucet for about a minute straight, gasp for air because they weren't breathing, and then hit their shoulder on the wall on the way to the bedroom. And within 5 minutes, we were sitting there having a beer. Within 5 minutes, it happened. Knocked the beer over, made the stretch sound, like literally everything. Chugged the water, gas. He's like, that was amazing. How did you do that? I was like, I'm not the amazing one.
Yeah.
that guy is that he does that
His
every night
consistency
exactly.
is amazing.
the
Yeah,
same.
all I did was sit here and notice that for many nights in a row.
And the fridge got like
So-
not the fridge. The couch had like a permanent ring of spilt beer because that was Luke Skywalker's move every night was to
Yeah.
put a drink down. And I would say, you're gonna fall asleep there and kick that over in 2 hours. And
You
he'd be like, for sure, and then would do it.
Do you remember the video I have of Luke Skywalker smoking a blunt with the lit side? He was asleep,
in his mouth.
and then took a blunt from somebody passing it to him and put the lit side in his mouth. And then when he woke up, I was like, "What's going on, man? Like, we're ordering some burritos. Do you want one?" He was like, "Yeah, give me a burrito." And I was like, "What kind of burrito do you want? Do you want?" And he was like, "Burrito." And I was like, "Do you want an egg salad burrito?" He's like, "Egg salad burrito, egg salad burrito." Like, no matter what I said, he would just repeat to me. But like somewhere deep in his lizard brain, he knew he should have
Dolphin.
food,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but did not have the capacity to just open his eyes and be like, "I would like, the
We've all been
the
there,
fish
though,
tacos or
Yeah.
something."
Have you ever?
Also, it was
fed
2
a-
in the morning. There were no tacos or burritos coming. It was just me fucking with them.
Oh, I
you know?
see.
That's the
It's like,
worst.
who are you
part.
ordering burritos from? Yeah.
Yeah, no burritos were coming. I was just like wondering what his like lizard brain how it would respond.
But that
to
was
my
what was
question.
great about being that spot because, like, in your early 20s on Long Island, there was like nowhere to hang out. So someone would call you and be like, "Hey, I just got out of work at like midnight," and be like, "Hey, can I come over and like hang out for a bit?" Like, they just wanted to like be able to smoke a joint and like hang out before having to go back to their parents' house.
Yeah, we
And
were
you'd
like
be
20,
like,
21, 22.
Yeah. And you could be like, "Oh, I don't know, we're kind of tired, winded down here," and they'd be like, "Oh man, well, what if I like bring some Wendy's by? Like, I was gonna stop at Taco Bell." I'd be like, "You know what? Why don't you come through?"
Yeah.
So it was nice. You get little treats throughout the night because, like you said, you never knew it was gonna happen. Or one Luke Skywalker, his family ran a seafood restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, "Hey, do you guys need any?" One Luke Skywalker's like, "Oh, Luke's on his way." Luke Skywalker's on his way. He's coming from work. Should I tell him to bring anything? I was like, yeah, just tell him to bring something good. And he showed up. I was like, oh, so what'd you bring? He's like, oh, I brought like 6 pounds of lobster mac. We're like,
Yeah.
Okay. And it was just a huge bowl of lobster mac and cheese. It was like fresh lobster. And at one point in the night, we were just like picking the lobster out and leaving the macaroni behind, which for us was super extravagant.
Yeah,
to just
yeah, of
waste
course.
any
Pretty
food.
bougie. Yeah.
But it was so bougie of us, just
lobster.
like, oh, I'm just eating the lobster now, baby.
So
a good night.
I thought of a good magical moment between the 3 of us who pseudo live there and Luke Skywalker. So Luke, Johnny, Luke Skywalker, and me. Luke Skywalker did dolphin out, could just completely pass out so hard that wouldn't feel anything.
By dolphin, you mean half his brain was asleep and the other half was weirdly responding to you.
Dolphining
Yeah.
was a verb we would use. I
Yeah.
just remember that. He would
Yeah.
dolphin out
Yeah.
because that's how dolphins sleep, half the brain at a
Exactly.
time so they can keep swimming. And he wasn't like at his A game, but he could keep swimming.
He
keep
could talk
moving,
about burritos, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
and
he-
answer questions and
Yeah.
he was
communicate
dolphining,
basic stuff.
and Luke, Johnny, and I started to have a competition about how much we could stack on him
Oh, yeah.
before he would wake up or like smack it off. And it was so impressive.
Oh, we started like clipping clothespins to his face, and
face.
stuff, like not even to his clothes, like
Yeah.
to his face and his
Unlike
ears
his,
and
unlike
things.
his
and,
cheek fat and stuff. Like we were like,
yeah,
let's
and
put a
just,
close
it took a while. It took a while.
and this
for it to
lasted
notice.
like hour and a half, and finally something like made him kind of wake up, and we were just like, huh! Like, oh my god, he's gonna be pissed, and he just goes, huh! And falls right back.
Yeah.
yeah.
Something
it
tells
barely
me in like
registered.
50,000 BC, he would not do well.
Or would do amazing.
Just wake up to a coyote eating you and be like, I'm going
Yeah,
back to
whatever.
sleep.
Like, I'm going back to sleep. Like,
Oh, that's a wild house.
one of the best, like, magical style memories I had, I remember we had, like, edible weed, and I was laying, you know how the cliff, like, at the end of the road sort of was, like, a curve, so you can kind of lay on it and almost feel like you're falling, but you're looking straight up. And it was August, and it was me, our friend Luke Skywalker, and our other friend Luke Skywalker. So it was the three of us. And
Like stepbrothers, Luke Skywalker.
What?
Luke Skywalker's stepbrother, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. And it was the Perseid meteor shower in August, and we happened to catch like one of the perfect nights where it was clear, and it was the kind of night where like we laid there for an hour, really fucked up on edible weed, and we must have seen like over 60. Like we were seeing more than one a minute, and the stars were so clear.
What, shooting star?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was the Perseid meteor shower in like mid-August, like August 15th or 16th or something. And the way you were laying there, like totally flat and like looking up at the curvature of the sky with this big view of the water where you could feel the curvature of the earth. And I was just like tripping out on like, I started telling my brain, like, instead of feeling like I'm looking up at the stars, I tried to tell myself I'm looking down at the stars, like I'm stuck to the earth, and like it's like a magnet holding me, but I'm looking down at the stars. And then
Have you ever done any psychedelics?
No, and I'm a little.
Oh man, you really should.
I know.
You sound like you have the brain for it.
I do. That's why I'm a little bit nervous about it.
That doesn't make sense. If you have a runner's body, you should put some shoes that lace up and go out there. You know?
Good
I'm
point.
scared I'll
Good
be
point,
too
John.
fast. Like, come on, man.
Is that doctor's advice there, Johnny?
Yeah.
Use the
I know.
force, Luke.
I mean, you're right. Like, my current fiance got me.
You just talk like somebody who's taken them, so I can't imagine what you would sound like if you did.
I mean, I feel like I've accessed the similar places from like just.
I think you have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I
Listen, Luke, you've either met God or you've just heard about it. Like, there's no in between. You know, you've just heard someone else tell you about their meeting with him.
I think there are lots of
Like-
ways to meet God.
Yeah, see, that's somebody who's never seen him.
I didn't say see God. I meant meet God. Like
No, I know. That's what I. Yeah,
like I've
there's
had like
distinction.
I've had like a telegraph conversation with God maybe. And if you take a bunch of mushrooms or
Sounds
acid
so
or something,
lame.
you probably like actually like get to have a Skype session with God or something. Like
Yeah.
and then if you
should,
die, you get to actually like.
We should do that podcast. Let's take you to a country where it's legal, get you some ayahuasca, and film it.
Well, you know, Yanka bought me like my fiance bought me a
Which one?
the current one.
Oh, okay.
She bought me an hour session in a flotation tank.
You should start with that.
Sensory
Yeah.
deprivation.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with that. And Joe's terrified for my well-being about doing that.
Oh, you should go to therapy before and after. That's probably for the best.
So, like, I'm definitely like a little bit anxious about going into it because, as Joe says, he thinks I'll end up in like a different portal into a different universe and like get.
We'll get a different Luke back.
Yeah.
We'll get like a Civil War veteran Luke
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Who can't function, or like cyborg Luke who can't function in an organic society.
Something
Or a
like
way more
that.
woke Luke.
Yeah, it could be anything, and I am genuinely.
And you're scared of that. You're scared of change, and you don't want to grow. I get that. That's fine.
I'm worried about like what my plan going into the flotation tank should be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
think
mean?
That's
Like-
your first mistake.
Like, do I want to like make it like an hour-long meditation session? Do I want to make it like I don't know what I want to make it. Should I bring headphones? Will they get ruined in the water?
I think they have certain. It depends on the place. I think a lot of them have like audio systems built in, so you could submit a playlist.
I think I would be down for some music.
No, you got to go in. No, you got to go. You can't go in with music. You got to go
You
in.
can do
fresh.
whatever
You should just go in calm because
I like to go
you'll
in
just
fresh.
No, what's
you'll
going to
tune
happen?
into your own heartbeat.
What's going to
and
happen
shit,
to Luke
you know?
is what I sent him a video of yesterday, which is Spy Monkey, which is they make like a robotic monkey with a spy camera for like an eye, and it interacts with real monkeys, and the real monkeys think it's real. That's what's going to happen to Luke. He's going to be transported into Spy Monkey, and he's
a spy monkey.
and
He
he-
already is practically.
I know that's what I'm worried
I
about.
think I basically am Spy Monkey already.
Oh, God, this is devolving hard. Do you need water?
It's a drunk tank. Of course,
I'm in the tank.
Um, So, Carrie, you gave your
considering
most
we
magical
no,
memory.
hold on. We can't leave this right away.
Oh.
Considering we call ourselves a thunk tank, which is a space designed for you to enter that's going to make you a little uncomfortable.
Penetrate, let's say.
But it's worth the overall growth for the discomfort and the insanity. How can you stand there, you piece of shit, and say you're not going to go into a sensory deprivation tank? I think you owe it to this podcast, yourself, and America
definitely going.
agree.
to get into that.
I'm definitely going. Thanks, man. I'm
All
definitely
right,
going
well-
into the tank.
You have to.
I guess so. I've always wanted to personally go into the tank, and then I got a little bit nervous as I got close to like calling the number and scheduling my appointment. I got a little nervous, and I just wondered like, what's happening?
Taking a
Johnny took a
screenshot.
Dear
of
God.
our
We should
current-
post this on Instagram.
Yeah,
Check our
that's what
Instagram,
we should
folks.
do.
Wait, get close, get close. So Tommy and I started doing a thing. We put our headphones down. like they're Geordie visors from
Yeah,
Star Trek.
Luke, get in the frame.
Luke, you're so far away, it's so blurry.
Wait, I'm not in the frame.
Hold
the
on,
guy
farting.
from X-Men,
Really?
That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, I see what's happening.
Anyways, this is terrible audio.
Yeah. So, anyways, look, I'm definitely the kind of person that would be totally excited by going in a sensory deprivation tank.
You should just do it.
God damn it!
Do it.
But I guess I got a little bit nervous, like as I thought about it a little bit, because
Because you're a bitch?
You're thinking about it too much.
a little
You just
bit
gotta do
that
it.
I mean, like I
Yeah.
just didn't want to have like you know how sometimes if you get too high, you get like a little bit of an anxiety reaction.
Oh, I would take edibles before going in.
No, I would definitely not. I would do it the second time if I really love my experience and I had a great time sober.
go in fresh.
I would go in again and take like a low dose edible and go that
That's not
direction.
exciting. You got to go down the rabbit hole without a flashlight. That's half
I just
the
don't
thrill
want to
of it.
have like
Take some ayahuasca.
I don't want to
first.
be like wondering
Oh
like
God, what would happen?
I don't want to hit. I don't know if these
be
tanks have
fine.
a panic button, but I don't want to hit it.
You'll be
I'm
fine.
I'm
gonna
sure
be there
they
to lock
do.
you
Yeah,
in.
worst case scenario, you float in a tank for an hour. You're fine.
Yeah, Luke.
That's what I'm
Luke,
going to
you-
tell myself.
Luke, you really haven't figured this out yet. Don't be afraid in the tank. You're on scare tactics.
yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
You really didn't think that,
Wait,
dude?
is this
You
a
are
setup?
not. You are
I
not
feel like
ready.
I feel like a sensory deprivation company wouldn't agree to that.
They're
because
not a
people
real
are already
sensory
so-
deprivation company. That's the
No,
trick.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, the whole thing's
see?
a setup.
Yeah, the whole.
No,
we
thing
didn't
is
say
a-
that.
Back when
Did you read the paperwork that
back
you
when
signed?
Joe
my
and,
gosh.
and various other people threatened to put me on scare tactics,
Various other-
I had a serious sit down with my current fiance, and I said to her, "If you ever put me on scare tactics, that's the end of our relationship."
And what'd she say?
I'm sorry for the dumb among us. What is Scare Tactics?
Scare
I think I know
tactics
what it
is
is.
a
Oh, that's
show
a
where
good
you
show.
prank people by setting them up into. Let's say I am trying to scare tactics.
Well, it's when the
Johnny.
media convinces y'all that the COVIDs is coming through the food chains. We've been at the top of the food chain for so long, practically decades. So how's a virus going to jump to the top all of a sudden? It's some fake news. Do you know anyone who's sick? I don't.
I don't.
But I haven't left my ranch in 14 years.
Johnny claims he's going to buy a shotgun with his UBI. By the way,
Totally
Johnny
buying a
Genie,
shotgun
can we
with
get
that.
a would you rather for this tank?
I thought I threw one out before.
no, give us a
I
give us a
don't think so.
Burrow
Last
give us a
episode.
Burrow themed. Would you rather?
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
the people.
jeez.
No
All right,
pressure.
Would you?
Not on the
would
spot.
you
Put a picture
rather?
of the Burrow on this episode.
Big time. Put the movie picture, the movie poster.
Would you?
Yeah.
Would you rather go back to those days, like carefree days like that?
Yes.
We kind of are.
But
Yes,
but if you
minus
go
the
back,
I
pandemic.
love Kara's yes.
yeah.
if you go back, and it's going to be where like things kind of all work out. You know, you kind of always manage to get by, but you're never doing great because that's kind of how it was. I
But you're
think.
also 22, so whatever.
But yeah, you're young and you wake up and you're not really. You're hungover for like 40 minutes and then you're fine. Like
You walk it
you know,
off.
yeah.
You
A
limp
cup
it
of
off.
coffee
3 bites
actually
into
works.
a bagel,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Oh, I'm good to go."
I'm good to go. Let's hit the gym before the bar tonight or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
not that we had bar money, but
You're describing
so you,
my life now. This is really sad.
So you could go back to that, but if you take that deal, you have to do it for 100 years before you can come back to now.
Do I get
Otherwise,
to hang
can
out with
just-
you all for 100 years?
that sounds
Yeah.
pretty great.
That sounds great.
Yeah. What's
Yeah,
the
what's the
rather?
catch?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh,
What's
yeah,
the
what's
catch?
the-
Or you pass up on it and you just live your normal life.
Oh,
Because after your 100 years, you're going to snap back to you now.
it's fine.
I'll have
Some
so
else
much
do.
more wisdom.
Will you?
Will you?
Oh, from
Do
the
all my
Burrow?
brain
No.
cells die after 100 years? Yeah. Do I have nothing left?
Wait, do I age? Am I like 100 years old?
How do the brain cells work with the
Yeah.
drinking?
Is it Buffalo
No,
Theory?
your brain is fine. No, your brain
Then
is
I'll
fine.
do that.
Genie,
Yeah, that's
genie
fine.
skills.
I'll do that.
I'll do that.
As
I'll
long as
give
the
it a go.
genie's guaranteeing like I'm not damaging my body by 100 years of binge drinking.
Wait, what
yet.
happens to the rest of the world? It just kind of goes on. Like,
Is it
there-
every day?
Do I get like an do I get like an
It's kind of a
iPhone 80?
This is a side reality.
It's just a
No,
show.
I think he's saying like
just
the
repeating the
years
same year
2012
over and over and
to
over?
2013 repeat.
You just
like,
kind of
100
live those
times.
years. Like
Okay.
Wait, so
looping,
it's like
sorta.
Groundhog's Day, like the movie Groundhog.
Groundhog's
but for
Year.
a
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
Groundhog
Very
Groundhog's
much
Year.
so, but for 100 years.
That's a good movie idea. Let's
Oh,
pitch
so
that.
so
to
for
NBC.
so for like 2 years, like after 30 times, all of a sudden it's like New Year's Eve, and I'm like, all right, see you guys. Like back in 2012 or whatever, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, this is. I don't care." Wait,
yeah, it might
I
be
know.
more
No,
it
they're
might
all
be
gonna
more
remember.
amorphous than that.
Or are they all in this together? Like, shit,
I
we're
think
just
everyone's
partying.
in this together. Like this is reality.
oh, so they know that we're going back repeatedly.
No, it kind of phases, like a few weeks will go by and you'll be like, oh man, June was crazy. And someone will be like, what are you talking about? It's only like May 15th. And you'll be like, oh yeah, all right. Like you'll just find yourself like trapped in summer for like a weirdly long amount of time.
Hey, Johnny
Like-
Genie, are you getting annoyed by Joe's questioning? Because I am. You want to give him like something of a
no,
punishment?
it's fair. It's fair. He wants to know if these are NPCs or not. Is really what he's trying to
basically,
get to.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's kind of hazy. Like
question.
it's a little Westworldy, obviously.
Okay.
Like,
Aha!
like if you try to call them out, be like, "Wow, it's only been like 60 years. I still got 40 more years of this." They're gonna be like, "Yeah, man, I guess so. We're still young." Like they're not gonna understand what context you're.
But they'll be
talking
fine.
in.
They'll be
You know,
like,
if you try
all
to-
right, whatever. They'll go with it.
Yeah,
but
But they'll
I'll also just like wind up at like Fish Festival for a week, like 50 times.
yeah, like that kind of stuff's gonna happen.
I'd
but
be
you're
a little
always
worried
gonna
about
be
being with my ex-girlfriend for 100 years.
Yeah, that's something. To
Oh
consider.
yeah,
for
that would
you.
be really bad for you.
Yeah.
You might keep breaking up and getting back together and breaking up and getting back together
Wait.
for like 40 of those years.
But does he
Yeah.
have to do that? Like, is he aware of
So I have
this?
free will within your 100-year
Can
thing?
he just be the beginning of the year be like, I'm not dealing
I
with
could
that
also
this
be-
time.
become, like, Burrow
it's-
extraordinaire.
It's
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
what
like
you-
a
the Baron of the
dream.
Burrow.
Yeah.
It's
What are you,
sort of
like the
like
Mad
how
Hatter of the Burrow?
the beginnings and the end of the dream you have more control over than the middle. It's kind of like that. Like, you
Oh.
kind of just fall into it. But
So it
you
is-
don't go
it is
crazy.
very Westworld.
There's some genie-ish like assistance. Otherwise, you would go insane. Your mortal minds can't handle a 100-year loop like that.
Yeah.
So you're getting some assistance to get you through it.
So when
but
I fall
still,
asleep at night,
it
you're
could take a
altering
toll on
things
you.
to keep my sanity.
to keep you going a little. bit.
What's the rather? This sounds
Yeah,
pretty sweet.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is one option.
Oh, that wasn't the Rather?
No, that was
Well, it's
one.
also kind of a curse because what happens if 10 years in you don't want to do that anymore? Like you're still waking. Like people are going to be up in your house till 3 a.m. Like you're going to have to get up early and go to
Sure,
class.
that's
Like
true,
that's
yeah.
going to be the thing you can't help but obsess about is getting to class.
Now, the
And you're
real
like, I don't need
question-
to go to this class. Like this is a loop. You're going to be like, no, I got to keep going to the class.
Let me
Like,
give an annoying genie question. So from age 22 to age
They don't
25, the prefrontal cortex is like extra forming and like becoming what becomes the adult brain.
Take
is
away
that
his
not
prefrontal
happening
cortex.
to me? Am I staying in like 22-year-old like frame of mind?
Sure, but when the 100 years is over, you turn back to shitty 31-year-old set brain Luke, cement Luke brain. or
What
whatever
I
you are
meant
now.
is like, am I learning lessons from that 100 years of experience, or am I just getting?
I don't know.
weird?
Are you?
Well, I'm going
Are
to say
you a
after
piece
that
of
100
shit? I
years,
don't
you're
know.
going to forget whatever that 23 to 30-year-old Luke was to
I
begin
think
with.
Yeah.
because that was only
I think
6
I'd rather
years
just be
versus
who I am now.
the last
the 100
100
years,
Yeah, that's a good
century
point.
just lived
That's
out.
fair.
You're
At
not
least
going to
I've got
remember
s-
it.
Yeah,
Come back like just a frat bro who
Wait,
can't
what's the
do it
rather?
anymore.
just living your normal
Just
life.
pass. Just take this life. Don't revisit the past. Let nostalgia stay nostalgia. Because there was a time in the Burrow where, and I bring this up to Kara all the time. This is probably the most memorable thing where we had no money. Like everybody else was at work, so it was just the two of us. We were stuck there. Like we couldn't even drive anywhere because I was like, I don't have a lot of gas.
Reno 911.
Were we watching Reno 911?
That's what we did during that time.
And yeah, we were just watching Reno 911 because it was on cable.
It was on cable.
And it was hot, sweaty, and we were like drinking the last beer we had, and we were sharing it. And I turned to Karen, I was like, these are the good old days.
Ugh.
And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're an asshole. I was like, no.
No.
Like, we're gonna look back and be like, these are the good old days. I was like, our biggest problem is we're out of beer right now, really. And like,
Those are
yeah.
great moments, though, when you like kind
But,
of stop
we-
for a second and say,
yeah.
"Hey, this is a moment I'm going to look back on." because like that's always I've never found that to be not true when like you have that moment.
Yeah, when you really realize it for yourself,
Well,
right? Yeah.
I mean, you guys talked about it during the Vonnegut cast, and I know Joe says it every time, but I have a little calendar page above my desk that says, Vonnegut's quote, "If this isn't nice, what is?"
Yeah.
And I really try to turn to Johnny every time, even no
Every
matter
time
how
you
hard
feel
it is.
that, yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
reason why he said it. He not only said that, but he repeated it constantly. It's in like multiple books and all his speeches. It's good
He would
advice.
just walk around saying it, probably,
Well,
right?
Well,
if-
it's especially good when things aren't necessarily perfect because they very rarely are perfect, if ever.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
the
Johnny
real
and I-
thing. Yeah,
As soon as
Recently,
you
Johnny
think
and I
they're
mostly
perfect,
bring
they're
it up.
not.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Definitely.
But
Well,
they're
and this-
sometimes good.
This kind of transitions to the
You're lucky.
elephant in the room that I think that we're not talking about and we definitely don't need to talk about. But there were some serious not good times between some of the roommates in that place that are currently present here. And it's obviously all worked out, but like we remember the good things.
Dude, Luke
That's
Skywalker
what
was
should
such
be.
a dick at times.
Luke Skywalker is the worst. Yeah.
Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker and Luke Skywalker.
Fucking Luke Skywalker, man.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker and Leia Skywalker we're dicks sometimes. Loud.
I remember Luke
4 a.m.
Skywalker
dicks.
put a bunch of quinoa down the disposal, and while they were doing it, I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And Luke Skywalker said, "Oh, I'm putting this food down. I'm just cleaning my plate, And I was like, "We don't have a disposal.
Yeah.
It was just going
just
down the
clogging
drain." And
the
he goes,
drain.
"A what?" And I was like, "You don't even know what a garbage disposal is. You just grew up putting food down the drain, and
You
it
just
was
thought
fine."
that was a thing
And
everyone
you just
did.
assume
Yeah.
that's what drains do. And I was like, that's not how any of that works, man. He's like, all right. And then just put the food down and like just didn't bother
And then our
eating there
sink didn't
for,
work for like 6 months.
like 6 months. So you could wash one dish and in 15 seconds it would start backing up with sludge water. So
Oh,
of
that was
course
the worst.
the sink got
Jesus.
filled with dirty dishes. And at one point Luke Skywalker got so fed up that he took all of my dishes, bagged them up in a garbage bag, and put them on the porch without telling
That
me.
was me. That was Luke me.
were
It was
trying to
you,
be
but
nice.
I was being fair there. I was lending you your anonymity.
I remember coming over
because
I remember
his
coming
response
over and
had
being
been
like, "Why are there all these dishes on the porch?" And both of you being like, "It's a long story."
It's a thing.
because I refused to take him back in after that.
But
And Luke
also-
refused to do anything.
Luke and
We were
Leia
both
Skywalker.
proud, right?
Luke and Leia Skywalker were assholes in that they would have very loud intercourse while Luke Skywalker was trying to sleep and needed to wake up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
When they shared a wall in that very
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that too. But I remember the one Luke Skywalker just worked at a restaurant, so like I'll just eat there from now on was their solution. Your solution was, oh, I'll just buy paper dishes and plastic forks and stuff.
/ not
And I was
eat.
the only one who clung to being a person, and I was like, "No, I'm going to use the dishes and the cookware in the kitchen." And then it just got abandoned on the porch
Well, Luke Skywalker
because none of us were going to
was
call the
also a
landlord
really
or fix
good
the
cook.
drain.
And so Luke Skywalker would get wasted but still be able to make like perfect
But never
asparagus,
clean that
but
up.
never clean it up.
bad,
Yeah.
good cook, bad clean.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What
And that stove sucked too, and that sink sucked. That whole kitchen was shit.
I mean, the whole kitchen was shit, but one of the beautiful
The fridge
things
was
about
big.
it
That was
was like there was an element of like, as much as this place is like a piece of garbage, it was our space, and no one
It's our garbage.
outside of us could tell us how to like live. So like for me, I had lived with my parents, and then I was homeless, and then like found this place, somehow convinced my best friend Luke Skywalker at the time, and then you, Johnny, to like live all together. And we were like, how could this go wrong? All in all, it didn't go wrong. Like none of us died. That would be it going like really wrong.
It definitely worked out.
It worked out all in all. I mean, we don't talk to Luke Skywalker, and like
That's for different reasons. Emperor Palpatine came in after.
Yeah, Emperor
her.
Palpatine twisted him to
fair
the dark
point,
side.
fair point. That's a whole
And-
different
and-
episode.
and stole him away from us. Apparently,
I mean, I know he was still living at the Burrow when Emperor Palpatine like came into.
was he?
Yeah, because
no,
the
when
whole,
they
like,
met,
walking
when they
back
met,
thing.
he wasn't still there.
Oh, he wasn't.
But
All right, never
but
mind.
she spent a fair bit of time at the Burrow.
Got it.
So all in
What?
all, I think that house was like a beautiful a beautiful memory, like the way my brain remembers it now.
It's very nostalgic.
It's nostalgic, and I'm so glad it worked out. You know what I mean? Like,
and that we're able to have good memories of it.
Yeah,
instead of,
like
thinking about the shitty parts.
you know, the whole psychology of like experienced self versus remembered self. Like the remembered self version of that for me is quite beautiful. In terms of experience, like I probably woke up there like late for class many times. Like, why did I have that many shots and beers and like?
I would just wake up hungover and be like, I gotta go work like 13 hours.
Yeah,
now.
like,
and
what
then
did
I'd
I
come
do?
home and do it again.
Thank God I'm 22.
Do you know
Yeah.
the amount of times I would come home on like a Wednesday, a Thursday, whatever it was, and just think to myself, I really need to just, buckle down with the schoolwork and then I would get home and you'd be like, Luke, we're playing foosball. We need an extra. Like, come on in. I'd be like, yeah, you convinced me. Like,
Yeah, I'm sold.
Wait, can I point out too that for a little bit of this time that you guys were at the Burrow, Joe and I lived in a shit little studio apartment in New York City in
I
Manhattan.
remember that.
Oh, that's
where
right,
where we did not have any furniture. All we had were 2 blow-up mattresses, a queen size and a single, and both of them were so shitty and leaked so bad that we switched every night because we were convinced that the other one was better. And we didn't have any dishes, so Joe would make coffee literally out of just water, hot water, and a coffee filter. And that place was so run down with cockroaches that we
Yeah.
would prefer to come home on the weekends,
Yeah.
drive the 3 hours out to stay at the Burrow than stay in that shitty apartment in New York
But
City.
you know what, Kara? Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Yeah, it's true.
I think I stayed a night at that apartment, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember.
There was a time where like 4 people stayed on the one queen bed.
Yeah, I remember that.
When They Might Be Giants came out with Join Us.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's cool about the Burrow too is that like it still touches our lives in small ways.
yeah.
Like we have a foosball table, like it's a tiny one. It's not like the Burrow one, but we wouldn't have a foosball table if it wasn't for the Burrow.
If it wasn't for
Guarantee you
foosball
there
in
wouldn't
the
be
Burrow,
a foosball table
Yeah.
in my house right now.
Also,
Yeah, if ever I have money, I want to get like a one that doesn't need to stand up on a pile of newspapers.
Or maybe it will.
Has legs.
Yeah. But
Who knows? Who
but-
knows where COVID will bring us?
but the fact that that's one of your dreams in
Oh,
life
no COVID,
says
sorry.
something about the Burrow, you know?
also, like so after I lived there with Johnny and Luke Skywalker, I lived there for another 3 years with my girlfriend at the time.
3
Wow,
years.
You lived there that long?
I mean, I was with my the girlfriend I had before my current fiance. I was with her for 5 years, and so I was living at this house with her from 2013 to 2015. And so we lived there, yeah, for 2.5 years or so.
And then you guys
And-
broke the toilets and shat outside.
That was
Yeah, that did
Wait,
happen.
what?
In that
That
same
happened?
house.
Oh shit!
Isn't that how it
Yeah, he
ended?
was scooting
essentially?
around
Let
the
me
yard
give a
like
few stories
I
that
did
you
not know
guys-
that.
Let me give a few stories that you guys don't know about
Yeah, we missed out on that,
me
yeah.
like couple living at the Burrow. So
That's what you call it.
I heard you made it classy. That's all I know.
First
Yeah,
of all,
yeah,
that,
what with the
that
pooping
girlfriend,
outdoors.
that girlfriend it was a little weird.
yeah, I mean everyone's a little weird.
There's got to be a Star Wars nickname
Like
for her.
no,
but I
she
can't
thought I
figure it
was
out.
like I remember like I got her to admit I was gonna go to hell because like I smoked weed and had premarital sex. And,
Whoop,
then,
whoop.
and then you guys ended up
That was
banging
with me.
anyways, and I was just like, you see, like just have fun, don't be a hypocrite, man.
yeah. She was raised.
I just had a lot of
bit more
weird
religious.
I had a lot
Yeah.
of weird conversations with that one.
I think, especially at,
Ooh,
at
what-
that age, she was like definitely.
Hold on.
Like,
She was
What was
still
Brianna
trying to break
Tarth's
out of
nickname?
it.
What was her name in Star Wars?
I don't remember. Phasma,
Phasma, was that it?
Captain Phasma.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good nickname for her.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Either that or Luke Skywalker.
Wait, so did
Yeah.
the toilets not work there anymore when you left? That's my question.
No, they worked.
Oh, they
So
did?
basically, like, I don't know and I can't prove whether she was like flushing her tampons down the toilet,
No.
It usually is that though.
but the toilet stopped working.
Where else would they go?
At the time, it stopped working.
Oh
And
my
it be-
God, you guys
and
are
I
I
was
have this
men.
to post.
flushing
Flushing
It's
tampons
by
is
death.
punishable
That's
by
hilarious.
death.
That's weird that you had a
My
card on
buddy-
your desk ready to
my
go.
buddy
for this
owns-
story.
That is
My
weird.
buddy-
yeah. Simulation. 1% more.
My buddy owns a beer store that he's opening that we worked at a place and that kept happening. Flushing tampons. It was brand
Why?
new plumbing and it kept clogging it. And the way it was
Assholes.
set up is
That's
the
so
women's
weird.
room was like the first stop on the plumbing. Or no, I think it was the last stop, whatever. But if the women's room clogged, like the bar had to shut down, like nothing could drain in the whole building. It was
Yeah.
all in the same line.
The bar
and
sinks
every
with
time
overflow, yeah.
we would have to, you'd pay the guy $300 to come out right now because the bar is closed on a Friday. Like, get out here. And it was always tampons. It's always tampons.
Yeah.
They call them sewer rats in the industry.
I mean,
They're
they're
so used to
designed to
pulling them
absorb
out.
water, right? So they
And
just
plug up
expand and plug.
up
Yeah.
small passages. Yeah, they're doing their job. People aren't.
So I think we've talked about this on
I
the
love
cast
that sticker,
generally,
though.
but like at some point, like I started shitting outside because
Wait, that was real? I thought Joe was just.
No, yeah,
No,
you told
yeah.
us. This is well
So
documented.
basically
Just
the-
give us the brief.
the toilet
brief
didn't work
version.
for a while, and I was concerned about calling the landlord and getting her to call a plumber because they're going to figure out really quickly that it's clogged with tampons and that's an our fault situation. So they're going to charge the $600 to us or something to unclog it all. And in the meantime, in the interim, I was just thinking to myself, let's just shit outside. I said to my girlfriend at the time, like, you know, you shit every 2
And they
days
lived
as
happily
it
ever
is.
after.
Why don't you just shit at school? Like, we were students. We went to school every day for most of the day.
Just shit at school.
I mean, you're there. You know, if you want to shit here, go outside. Like, I can tell you, you're a human being. Like, I can shit outside. That means you can.
And so it didn't work out.
I did most of my pooping outside,
Where? Where did you do that? I
outside
Yeah,
of the
bucket.
porch,
And
On
did
the
you
what?
did you bury
On the
it?
porch?
outside of the porch, like past the screen.
Like in the middle of the day, you would just.
No, I did it at night. During the
To
day, I was
hide
at
your
school.
shame.
Did you
like an
bury it,
animal.
or did you just have a big pit?
Nah.
Just shit in one area.
Yeah.
Like a dog.
Luke, you should have been like, that would have been good.
No, a pit would have been something.
Or like buy some dog
So there was just
poop bags and
there's
pick
just
it
a
up.
line of shit up against. I assume you leaned against the house.
I assume
right?
you squatted like a dog and kind
In
of like
Yeah, what's-
waddled
retrospect, this
forward.
is really weird. I admit.
Did you?
In
Did
one
you? Wait, I
respect, what do
imagine
you
you
mean
did
in
like
one
a
respect?
squat. I imagine you did a squat and you
Retrospect.
braced
Oh, okay. Yeah.
you braced your lower back against the house, and
What's
then
your
you
form?
just shit right next to the house. There,
No, I
but Joe's
squat-
saying he thinks you squatted like a Slavic chimpanzee and you
That
just shit
I
right
did
there.
that. I did.
You
that.
did that. Okay, I was wrong then.
So you just got great.
So I
great
would
quads.
bring out. We had a roll of toilet paper out on the porch.
No, you did this with your girlfriend. Like,
Hold on,
not
hold on,
with her.
hold on. When he says we had a
together.
roll of toilet, when he said we had a roll of toilet paper on the
Yanka-
porch, hold on. That's how you know it was a regular thing because you don't leave
This
the
was
roll
2
out there
months.
if it's once
This
or
is
twice.
2 months.
Yeah, that's normal. You've replaced it. If you say we had it out on the porch, that means it ran out multiple times. And you went, oh, could you please replace the torch?
The hardest
porch
part was
paper?
what to do with the used toilet paper.
Yeah, porch toilet paper.
see, Luke, here's how you
oh,
know
what,
that.
what'd you do? Just throw it in the garbage.
We
can?
had a
Okay,
plastic bag, and we had a bag filled with plastic bags. You would open one up, and then like each time you wipe the toilet paper, you would throw it in there. At the end of the poop, you would seal that, put it in the outside
Is your
garbage.
own poopy
That's the
doggy
genius
bag.
of it. Put it in the outside garbage.
That's a genius.
That's where
should we put our
genius
shit?
How to handle
That's
our
the genius
shit.
of it. And then you go inside, and then you wash your hands like you're like coronavirus times.
But you had to touch the doorknob to get in.
Yeah.
No, the door stayed open.
God, you really.
So
did
Luke,
figure it out.
here's how you know that
your
Phasma
pants
or
and
whatever
the
her name
porch
is was not
door.
meant for you. If you proposed this to Yanka in the same circumstances, she would be like, "I'm so down." She would do it immediately. She would be.
She would probably improve the process.
Yeah.
and while being like, we can't keep doing this.
She would be down.
That's
to
why
shit
she's your
outside,
current
yeah.
fiance.
Yeah. But I feel like she didn't.
Although
she
she
had,
was raised with bidets in Turkey, so who knows?
Ooh.
You know, like
That
she
is fancy.
like you don't get.
I mean,
bidet
I don't
level
understand the
clean
problem.
From shitting outside.
I have a
I'll tell you
garden
that.
hose. Like, why is everyone freaking out about toilet paper? We have there's green trees everywhere in America. We have how many people have how many socks versus how many they need? Like, I don't know why everyone's freaking out about the toilet paper. We have so many things.
I
to
don't know
wipe
why
our
everyone
asses.
bought toilet paper. That was
Coffee
that was a-
filters. You know how many coffee filters I have? I have a lot if I need something to wipe with.
Yeah. No, I mean I have a lot of devices that can wipe my ass if toilet paper runs out.
You got a hand, right?
Ultimately, I have a hand. Yeah.
Well, Luke, you're a savage who shits outside, so
right.
obviously you'll survive without.
All
toilet
right.
paper.
There was a point where like I invited a friend over and he was 10 minutes early, and like I was like, should I shit before he shows up or should I wait till after?
Was this
and I was
me?
like, I still have time, and so I ran outside behind the porch and I started shitting, and then he pulled up. And I had to like back up as I was shitting so that I wasn't in the view of his headlights, you know,
On your haunches, while
Like
you're
a dog,
turning
like
around.
I said.
Walk backwards.
like a dog
Jesus
walking
Christ.
backwards. Yeah.
right.
And,
My dog does that
I
when she
finished
can't
up real quick,
understand
ran
why
into the
it's
bathroom
not.
and like washed my hands and like opened the front door and like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Like, don't walk outside because there's a bunch of shit.
Now,
that-
what
Or
happens?
steamy
What
pile of
happens
shit.
if a friend visits and they go, "Hey, can I use the bathroom?" You have to go, "Yeah, but you can't shit in there."
I said we're having every time there was a friend over in that 2-month period. I said we're having some toilet problems. You can pee, just don't try to flush. And if you have to poop, I'm sorry, that's not happening.
So,
Although
so wait,
you couldn't
did it
go around
flush,
that.
or was the bowl just full of piss for 2 months?
So I could use if you used a plunger, you could like plunge whatever was in the toilet,
Force
and make it
some
flush
water
down.
through.
Yeah. I did. So I peed outside. Obviously, I'm a guy, but like my girlfriend at the time was a woman,
Okay.
so she had a vagina and
Wait,
stuff.
wait,
Was a
wait.
woman at the
Your
time.
girlfriend was at your girlfriend at the time was a woman, or your girlfriend who was a woman
At the
was
time.
your girlfriend at the time was your girlfriend at the time. You said that in the most confusing
Yeah,
way.
Princess Leia was a woman,
Okay.
and
Wait, so she
Great.
pissed outside too?
no, I never made her piss outside.
Oh,
Like she pissed in the toilet, and I would plunge
I
it down
see.
at night.
that's
and, like,
sweet.
Fill up.
So was
water
the
from
2
sink
months?
and
Here's
pour it
the
down
here's
and
the
stuff.
pertinent question: was the 2 months because the landlord sucked, or because you were like, I just didn't get around?
We
to
were
calling
busy and didn't
them?
get around to it, and then finally my
Yeah.
dad came over with one of those snakes that you could like spin
So
around.
you could have just
it was
done
like
that.
a 20-foot snake, and then finally it
Pulled the tampons out.
pulled all the shit out, and the toilet like basically the toilet never flushed, but if you were to like pump it with a plunger while you were flushing it, the water would kind of go down. And when we did this snake thing, we poured a bunch of water in there, gave it a flush, and it went and
Yeah,
like
it
flushed
made up
like
for
normal.
it made up for
jet
lost
engine.
flush.
And I remember I made a sound. I was like, "Whoa!"
You got
I was
giddy.
so excited. I was just like,
Something
I
little
have
like
a working
that,
toilet.
yeah.
I can sit on my toilet, take a shit, and I know the shit's gonna get flushed. Like, and it really gave me some wisdom at the time.
Yeah,
I-
don't go in the float tank, Luke. Don't go.
I knew that like it's all about perspective.
Wow.
You know, like I didn't have a working toilet,
It
and as soon as
sure
my
is.
toilet started working, I thought I am a rich person. I'm a rich man.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, I was a 22-year-old with negative money without a working toilet, and all that
Who-
happened
who-
was my
who-
toilet started
yeah.
flushing.
It's big. Oh god.
And now I'm 30 and a half, and I'm more or less in the same situation, except my toilet works fine.
That's progress, though.
But my girlfriend's better.
Your current fiance.
Fiance, dude.
Well, on top of his fiance, his girlfriend is also better, right?
Yeah, this is why she's your current fiance,
Well,
because of your other girlfriend
This has been
right
a
now.
this has been a classic Burrow cast. We should probably end it though.
Hell of an
How long have we
episode.
been casting?
140.
Oh god.
Yeah, we're done.
All right. Well,
Any last words about the Burrow?
No, I think it
got
was
nothing.
it was a good experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but it's good. It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ran its
Oh,
course.
Yeah.
I was thinking if I had kept trying to live like that, I would have ended up just being a homeless person for sure.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
There's like
but-
another
Yeah,
5-10 years
great.
of that lifestyle. There's no way I'm going back to being a normal person. And eventually, when I can't pay my rent anymore, I would just be like, all right, I'm going to just hit the ground rolling.
Yeah,
Go with
bridges under a bridge is fine. For, you know, like
It's
whatever.
weird how that behavior is okay when you're 22, but like if you're still doing it at 40, like you either have to be rich or you're like just probably a crazy person on the street. So I think we did it the right amount of time.
I think none of us had the standard like living in a dorm college experience, so it kind of like
Yeah, that's true. I didn't.
we went a little bit hard because of that too. You know,
yeah.
like at that phase of people's lives, they might be actually starting real jobs and finishing school or something. For us,
I lived in an attic for like 4 years before and after that period of time.
right. So
Like the same attic. It wasn't great.
I think
it was pretty great.
I think we took advantage of it because
was
we
great
knew
at it.
how amazing the fact that we had our own house was. It was pretty amazing. So I think we
Yeah.
took proper advantage of it.
It feels like one of those phases of life.
And I
Had its time and place.
I am totally happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Burrow
I'm
is,
still a little salty about the time that I went to turn my Xbox on and it didn't work. And when I looked at it, it was clearly covered in dry beer. Like a whole beer had been spilled on
And
it.
Luke Skywalker
I went-
was pretending that didn't happen.
And like I think I asked you, and you were like, I won't say anything, but you should talk to Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? That
Yeah.
means something happened. And everyone else was just like, nope, didn't see it. And my video game system got destroyed.
When-
I remember that being shitty.
When Luke Skywalker officially moved out, we were having Luke Skywalker and his new girlfriend over for dinner. And we had a TV that we bought. It was a small TV, but we kept it on the coffee table so that it was like a big TV to us, right? Like it was close. And I was like, I'm going to put this in our room so that it doesn't have any chance of being ruined by Luke Skywalker's shenanigans. And my girlfriend at the time was like, that seems ridiculous. Just leave it out. Like
It's like you don't know
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker.
that night, Luke Skywalker was just standing over the TV area talking to me. His mouth started drooling, and a whole line of like phlegmy spit fell over the screen of the TV. And I remember just being like, I knew it. Like, I told you.
And that's like a best case scenario, sadly.
There's still that streak on the TV.
Really?
It's up in my room.
Are you
upstairs.
serious?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
in the upstairs part
Have
of the
you
studio.
tried cleaning it ever once?
I mean, you can only clean those LC. It's not one of the glass screens. It's one of those
I think
like
you
soft.
just need a
They
certain
make
type of cleaner.
they make
Yeah.
screen cleaners.
Is it called
for
an
those,
LSD
like-
screen? What do they call it?
LC.
Yeah, it's an LSD screen
I think
cleaner.
you're
You
treating
put 2 on your tongue and you go in that tank and just come out in like 12 hours.
your
Tell me how
TV's
you're
clean.
feeling.
your TV screen.
You won't give a shit about your TV after
Yeah,
that.
your TV screen is your modern day Burrow
Yeah, at
toilet.
least your
you
problem.
can fix it. You just have
Wait, can you say that sentence
Yeah.
one more time?
what?
Your TV screen is your modern day Burrow toilet.
Yeah, you can fix it. You just have
I'm
it.
gonna put that at the front
That's
of this
true.
episode.
That's a
That's
good
very
sum
true.
up of
Your
all of
TV
this.
screen is your modern day Burrow toilet.
It sounds like a fish lyric
All
or
right,
something.
any last words before we hit stop?
No, please.
No, I'm just glad that once again we can therapize Luke a little bit in these episodes. Somehow.
We're preparing him for the
You
tank.
can nudge
The
me
tank.
closer to
The
sanity.
emergent tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if
Tank?
that's
Sure,
that,
that's what.
but- All right.
No,
see you
I'm
guys
done.
next time.
Thanks for
I'm
listening.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Wait, so who the fuck filmed the movie?
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the Thunk Tank podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to help us out, please consider leaving a rating or a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share it with people you think might like it. And if you really want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/ThunkTankPodcast. We have links to this in the episode description and other places. And for as little as $1 an episode, you can help us keep the lights on. And you also get access to a very special Drunk Tank feed of episodes. So every few episodes, we'll have a few more beers and record an extra 20 to 30 minutes of extra thunky, silly whateverness. So there's a separate RSS link you can get from there, and if you put that into a podcast player, you'll get your own separate feed of only the Drunk Tanks. I think we have about 6 or 7 of them out already, and more to come. Thanks for listening, and stay funky.